Let's be honest, most men drift. We wake up, we scroll, we work, and then we just rinse and repeat. And we know we're softer than we should be. That's why I built the 31-day resilience reset. This is not a devotional. It is a field manual for men ready to stop drifting and start fighting back. So for 31 days, you'll train your spirit, mind, and body with scripture, prayer, and daily challenges that forge real resilience. Go to www.undaunted.life/31 days to download this resource for free. That's undaunted.life/31 days. Start your reset today. This is Undaunted Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. Mr. Pollack, you made it to the studio. First question, why are you the way that you are? Because from the moment
we had...
No, that's not what I said. No, my exact words are, why are you the way that you are? Because, from the moment we saw each other yesterday, we were doing that kind of man communicates love to another man thing. And so we've just been tearing each other down, since yesterday. My wife was just in here, and she was she was appalled at the scene. She's like, what exactly is going on?
The wives don't understand, and the women don't understand the locker room talk. When we're okay with it. It's just like when you play sports. We could fight, and we could leave the practice field and be like, hey, dude, still love you. It's all good. Women are like, no, you can't talk to me like that. What are you doing?
Well, because I tried to explain to her one time, because my best man in my wedding and all that, he and I fist fought in high school, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, how did y'all become friends? I'm like, no, we were friends.
Yeah.
And then we fought, which is just like a friend thing. And then whenever you fight someone, you kind of figure out a little bit about who they are, because somebody wins the fight or it gets broken up beforehand or something like that. But it's no, at some point, you kind of just realize what this person's about by going through that circumstance.
How big was he, by the way?
He was way bigger than me.
He's a big boy.
But yeah, and so, but it was just kind of one of those things where and same thing when you see these guys getting fights during off season or OTAs or something like that, or whenever you see.
It's called a good practice.
Well, okay, so
coaches love that, by the way. I'm a high school football coach right now, and I love when my kids fight. I absolutely love it. I support it 100%.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that, because obviously you don't want anyone getting hurt in a fight, because it's the funniest thing in the world when they start swinging on a dude wearing a helmet. It's all right,
I did that too.
Football players you're kind of dumb, and so
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't know if you caught it, because it was just sometimes it you have to delay.
It takes a second.
No, but in all seriousness, as a coach, there are some coaches that are conflict averse. They don't want conflict with the players. They don't want conflict amongst the players. Everything they're trying to do is kumbaya zen crap. But that's not. It's not real life, for one, but a lot of coaches don't prefer that.
No, I think, again, there's a difference. We had a fight the other day at practice. They were doing they were reading a card and doing scout teams, so they're just doing a play for the defense, and the kid makes a comment, and the kid hauls off and decks him. That's not what I'm talking about. That's stupid.
Yeah.
That will be corrected, and they were on the prowler, pushing the sled. We'll correct that.
Yeah.
But when you're in the heat of the moment and you're competitive and tempers are flying, and somebody hits you or somebody takes you out, sometimes it'll be a cheap shot. In practice, we're why are you taking that?
Yeah.
You have to be competitive. You have to be tough. Listen, it's something I talk about with my son. My son's he's a good football player, but I'm buddy, first of all, when we played, when the people went over the middle, you could kill them, literally. It was a different day. We actually tried to decapitate them, and because you went on SportsCenter top 10s.
And you weren't going to get flagged.
No, or fined.
Yeah.
Or kicked out of a game. You were going to get commended. You were going to get congratulated.
What a lot of people don't understand in the modern NFL or all that, there are guys that aren't getting flagged for penalties that are still getting fined for it. Right?
Oh, I had to check. I sacked Ben Roethlisberger when he was at the Steelers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I get a $15,000 fine in the mail. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, it's a fine for spearing Ben Roethlisberger. And I was like, well, what do I do? They're like, well, you can appeal it. So I appealed it. So they set a call for the next day at 12 o'clock with the NFL. We have the tape. They have the tape. We literally do a video conference. They pull it up, and I'm like, I didn't spear him. And they're like, you see right here where you do this? That's a spear. I was like, that's a spear? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, I don't think it is. And they're like, well, it's $15,000.
That's one way to claw back what you're making. So you're explaining that to your son. Hey, this is a different day, different era. So you play in the era that you're in.
But being the difference between, and this is for all men, right? Being tough, but not being. But not taking it across the line, right?
Yeah.
And listen, it's a fine line. With competition, it's really hard, and it gets blurry sometimes because you want to go win and you want to do your best. But I think when you take it to the point of like belittling, or you take it to the point of like you're doing something just to be
Tear
a
someone
turd.
down.
Yeah, like it's not like, when you like at the school I spoke to yesterday, some of the kids had like wrote some things about a kid like on their car with that stuff that you can write, and wrote names just to be funny and stuff, but like it wasn't funny. Like that kind of stuff is bullying, but like in the moment, I'm heat of contact and like we're going at it, so be it, and then drop it and leave it there. Like we don't need to harbor on it and keep doing it. Like let it go. So there's a fine line. I think we all want to be tough, and we want our kids to be tough. We want to make sure that we have our manhood and our man card. But the manliest man to ever walk this earth was also Jesus, and that dude was also willing to turn the other cheek, and he was willing to show kindness. And so we have to do the same thing. It's hard to teach them to flip the switch and be okay with competing at a high level and asking them to compete at a high level. And it's hard as a coach nowadays, man, to get them to flip that switch and be okay with it.
Well, and so like when Jesus is talking about turning the other cheek, I remember debating this guy. He was a pacifist, supposedly Christian activist. He would get people to like destroy their firearms and all that. One of the dumbest things I've ever seen. But like when you look at the context of that verse, Jesus is talking about verbal slights, right? It's a backhand, right? So that's a verbal slight. So the idea as a Christian is not, if you're being attacked physically, to just let someone wail on you.
Correct.
Because then the extrapolation of that, the next level of that is if you see someone else being beaten, you won't intervene. You won't like try to protect an image bearer of God. But I mean, on the latter half of our sit down, we're going to be doing like this, big, long, college football preview and all that. It's like, look at the programs that have dominated for the last 20 years, right? The teams that were always in the top 5, top 10. So, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon's been kind of up and
Clemson
down.
Had a run
OU's been in there. Clemson has been crazy. And I do want to talk a lot about Clemson, kind of what's going on there. What do you think those coaches, the Kirby Smarts, the Dabo Sweeneys, like those types of guys, they are constantly trying to like adjust the tension on the leash of their dogs. Like, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way at all, because like whether you're a wrestler, a baseball player, all that, you have to adjust the level of aggression towards athleticism, because some kids need to be woken up, right? They need to get more aggressive. Other guys, they're running around crazy. I was talking about Eric Burns last night. Like, he's one of my favorite players to watch because he played like he was on fire. But that led to him making some errors. It led to him making some bad base running decisions. But like I remember,
you got to be okay with that.
Oh yeah, and you
got to be okay with that.
You would rather have a mistake from effort than you miss out on a run or you miss out on a sack or something like that because somebody just took a play off, and they clearly took a play off. But like I remember, so I went to the University of Central Oklahoma on one of the greatest wrestling programs of any division. Like I think 17-time team national champion wrestling program. So when I was there, I did not wrestle for them, but when I was there, they won a national title whenever I was doing my undergraduate work. And I remember hearing about the practices. Like these dudes, people don't understand. If you've never gone through a wrestling practice, like
so
2 days are hard. Baseball in the middle of summer, it's the dog days. It's hard. Baseball's a hard sport. Wrestling practice is
miserable.
One of the hardest things that you will ever do. The duel is fun. The tournament is fun. Wrestling practice, you'd rather not.
I disagree. I didn't think the duel was fun.
Hey, but these guys, like
I was the fat kid. So I was.
Oh, you were the heavyweight?
Yes, and so you have to wait, and a lot of times.
Is that when you were running your 6 flat 40?
Yes, and they don't even have a fat kid a lot of times. So you sit there and watch a dual meet, and they don't have a fat kid, so you automatically win. But wrestling is the hardest sport I've ever done physically.
Yeah.
So my mom, she just drives me nuts, by the way. So they needed a fat kid in wrestling. My sophomore year of high school, I'm 225. They had no fat kid. So I was like, all right. They said, come out and try it. I was like, okay, I'll try it. Like, but I'm not committing to it. I'll try it. I go out for a week. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, this is miserable. This is hot. This is hard, sweating. Like,
they have the heaters on and everything.
And my mom was like, once you start something, you got to finish. I was like, no, I was going for a trial. Like, so I wrestled the whole season.
Yeah.
So after the state championship match, I literally threw my bag in the front seat. I said, Mom, Dad, next time I wrestle half naked on a mat, it won't be with a boy.
Yeah. How'd they
laugh, but like that was my first scholarship offer was wrestling. But like it's a different level of hard, and just to me the outfits. Like, what are we doing with this singlet? Like the singlet was the worst thing about it. Like,
I mean, we could go back to the Greek city-state days, and they did it naked. So it's like preferentially, do you like the unitard or do you like the
No. You don't
side?
get to do that. Neither.
Yeah, well,
I want shorts and a T-shirt.
It's binary. We got black or white here. It's a 0 or a 1. Like, which way are we going?
No.
But look, those wrestling coaches, they know their guys are going to fight. They know they're going to fist fight.
100%.
And so, because here's the other thing, there's one kid that represents your team at that weight, but you're not the only kid at that weight.
No.
And so, and if you're at a good program, Oklahoma State, Penn State, UCO, like, you're going to have 4-time state champions, undefeated state champions in high school that come, and they'll never see the dual mat. They'll never see it. Nope. But you're constantly battling those guys at practice. And this is a physical domination sport. Football is a physical domination sport. Typically, the most physical team will win. That's why I love when I hear Kirby Smart talk about the types of players they recruit. And what did he say last year? I forget where it was. It may have been during the season where it's like, the kids that transfer out of here because it's too hard.
We want to play them.
We want to play wherever they transfer because it's like we're physical and we're fast. And so if we're too fast and physical for you and you transfer to XYZ college, we want to play them. We want to schedule them.
You need to come visit me in Athens and go to a practice.
Dude.
So Kirby wears the Madonna mic. And Kirby.
Oh, okay. He's got like a PA
the whole
or whatever.
Practice, he's on the loudspeaker the whole time. and it's not for the faint of heart walking by. It's not for children. Like, because he's going to mother blank
I've heard.
everybody. But like, special teams matters. Like, defense matters, offense matters, effort matters. Like, and he is on them the whole time and calling people out. Like, 5-star kids, highly recruited kids, everybody going to get some.
Well, how does that work like right now? Because, okay, so I was telling you off air that 2 of my best friends from high school played at KU, and this was during the Mangino days.
They were good.
They were the year they won the Orange Bowl. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, it's just, but that's why I had to really turn on the charm. I mean, it worked on you, but like the ultimate thing with Mangino is he destroyed his players.
Yeah,
he destroyed him verbally, physically. But the year they won the Orange Bowl, 2008, beat Virginia Tech down in the Orange Bowl. They were a 1-loss team that year. They lost to Mizzou. If they didn't lose that game, they're probably playing. I think it was the Sugar Bowl that year. That was the national title. Would have been them and LSU. I think would have been the national title game. And then he got fired. And the main reason why he got fired is because they're like, well, he was really mean to his players. And so I called my buddies. I was like, hey, like, was there something different about him at practice and all that? And they were like, he was way more relaxed than our high school coaches were. But like, if you missed an assignment or if you did something wrong, he let you know about it. And he would tear you down and just basically, like, if he knew you were from the ghetto or knew you were from some podunk town like trailer park, he'd be like, miss another tackle, I'm sending you back to the trailer park. Like, that was just how he was trying to motivate his players. Now,
and that's changed a lot now.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, how can he get away with it? I don't mean like he shouldn't. Like, how can a modern day coach like literally rip into a player, especially now with NIL transfer portal? It's like, oh, you were mean to me. I'm going to transfer to Tech. I'm going to transfer to A&M. I'm going to transfer to somewhere else because you were mean to me.
It's changed.
Hurt my feelings.
It's changed a lot. And some coaches, like, listen, the biggest thing you have to do is recruit those players that you know are tough and callous that can handle it.
Yeah.
Like, you want to, and those are the guys that love football. Those are the guys that want to get to a certain level and have big goals and big dreams. And you're telling them, this ain't your spot. Like, if you don't want to be coached hard, this is not your spot. Like, we're going to grind. And listen, there are some coaches that, like, that's not their message in recruiting. And then when they get on them, these kids nowadays, they can leave. So they'll just take their ball and go, right? Like, and that's what, when people talk about NIL and all this stuff, like, and it's changed and all, and we none of us ever like change. Like, we're typically slow to change. The thing about the development of players now is it's so different, because I used to take you and be like, all right, I got you for 4 years. I got you for 3 years. Okay, I'm going to break you down to build you back up to the greatest version of you. Yeah. Now it's like, wait a minute, I kind of got to use what you have right now because that's my investment. And so it's a different game. Development is now not the top of the list. That was the top of the list. Take these guys and develop their character, who they are, what they are as a player. Now it's like, wait a minute, I don't really have time for that. So it's changed.
I'm honestly curious about the future of college football, because I remember, so if you're a fan of college basketball, so when they changed the rule where you couldn't go straight from high school to the NBA, or I think Dwight Howard may have been the last guy. Anyway, it was around that era. I remember there were, the Kentuckys and the Dukes, right? They got all the best one and done guys. They got the John Walls, they got the, whoever else. But then you had a team like Butler or whatever. And it's these guys that if they redshirt you, they get you when you're 18, and then they're going to get you into your early 20s, and they're developing you as not only an athlete, but as a man, as a student athlete, like assuming you actually went to class, you had development like that. But now across the board with NIL and transfer portal, like I'd be fine with one or the other, but both seems like a disaster. Because right now it's like, how in the world do you build a program? So, Cignetti, which we'll talk about, a lot later, he kind of cracked the code with getting a bunch of older players that really understood the game, but were developed by somebody else. Yeah. But they were developed in a way that he could use that foundational skill set in the scheme that he made for, Indiana. And I'm just like, I don't know where this goes, because obviously there's got to be some regulation and some bringing in of the reins. But I do feel bad, man. I feel bad for that coach that isn't at a top tier
they're not
university.
playing the same game.
Yeah, maybe
Gundy.
they're at San Diego State.
Gundy was a good example at Oklahoma State.
Dude, yeah.
Like, what do you want to do?
What do you want him to do?
He literally, I sat down with him for my NIL documentary. He was like, kids would come in and like the first meeting that they want to have now is the financial meeting.
Yeah, how much are you going to pay me?
And he was like, we would have meetings with these guys and they'd walk out the door. He was like, they wouldn't even take the rest of the meeting. Like, they'd be gone because we weren't committed in that aspect. And so Mark Stoops from Kentucky. There's a lot of great coaches, like really good football coaches and developers, guys that used to take guys and really take 3 stars and turn them into 4 stars and develop. No, like you don't get that luxury anymore. Indiana with Cignetti was a show cause and a showcase now for everybody that puts everybody on alert. Like, I'm not giving you 4 years.
Nope. I'm
not giving you 3 years. It used to be, hey, give them a whole recruiting cycle of their players. Freshmen, no. But also he brought a lot of guys from his culture already. He came from JMU. He took a ton of those guys.
That's right.
And he brought them with him. They knew the expectations.
And they were
where
champions
he was.
at JMU.
And listen, and then he got a bunch of old guys that have been in there 5-6 years. And listen, those rules have changed now. Like it's 5 for 5 now, which is really good. Because we won't have, you used to go to school for 8 years and be called a doctor. Now you're a linebacker, right? Like, we don't need that. Like, we don't need that in the sport. It's not good for it. But, but it's just like anything else, man. Life changes, sport changes. Like, how do you adapt in your walk? Like, your life's going to change when you have babies and your priorities are going to change. How do you adapt? How do you adjust? What do those habits look like? And I think they've all learned the system over the past couple years, and it's changing less and less now, and the goalposts are kind of narrowing, which I think is good.
Well, I'm curious for you because, you talk about life change. So a year ago, you were not a published author, but I have it on good authority because I've already talked to you about this. You are now a published author. So there's a pretty one. I didn't get a hardback, though. I still got this like flimsy bullcrap version, so I don't know why you didn't do that. But no one else got this. It's like the limited edition.
Yeah.
But so you got Everyday Counts. We were talking about this at dinner last night. This isn't a football book.
No.
Right? You're holding a football on the cover, but this is not a football book. It's a life book. It's a discipline book. It's a Christ-centered book. And the thing is we, as a population, we love to segment people when it's convenient, and we love to group them together when it's convenient. And so we'll segment them. It's like, no, you're a football coach. No, you're a high school teacher. No, you're this. Yeah, but don't bring that Jesus stuff in here. But if you get in trouble in any of those different areas, it's like, see,
Jesus guy got in trouble.
Another Christian guy got in trouble or whatever. And it can't be that they're an individual sinner that did an individual sin brought on by some sort of simple proclivity. It's like, no, this is a package deal now. But like for you, I mean, you got people that want to listen to you when it comes to X's and O's and, breaking down tape and doing like college football predictions, but they're like, hey, keep the life stuff, like keep that stuff for yourself. This whole Jesus thing, hey, that's good for you. But morality isn't fixed, like blah, blah, blah. That I'm just curious now. I kind of want to know the good, the bad, and maybe a little bit of the ugly is like after you've gotten this out there, right? Because you said, I mean, this was not a fun experience for you writing this book, and hard. It was a slog to get through it. But like, what have you seen in terms of fruit from this book, even if it's bad fruit? People that are like, hey, this is nonsense, get it out of here.
Man, it's been really cool. I've got a ton of emails and people from all over the place and just messages. They'll be like, dude, picked up your book. It's not what I expected to find. And picked up your book. The majority of people that I really love that what they say is like, I left challenged. And I was like, that's exactly what the whole point of the book was. And I've told people, they've told me not to say this, my publishers, but like, if you don't want to be challenged, don't read the book. Like this book ain't for you.
No.
I mean, so I think that that's been an overwhelming theme, but there's always people that want to talk about like separation of church and state and stop talking about this. And listen, I got a little bit of that. I've got a little bit of that with my business before in previous relationships and where I was is like, hey, we're not going to talk about this. And it was amazing what was okay to talk about. Like certain things were overwhelmingly okay,
Yeah.
and then certain things won't. That I will say this. I do love where our country's going. And I love that we've changed this a little bit, because when I was at ESPN, it was very much about like, we ain't doing that message. And
Right.
and then we were okay with a different message. Like now I've seen a good trend and a good turn to where it's okay to put Christians are okay to speak their mind too, which, right, we're all supposed to be able to speak our mind. And it's not just a certain side that should have the freedom to feel good about sharing. And so I do like that in our country. So you're always going to get hate with things. I personally love it. I personally love the back and forth and it motivates me. And I think it shows you too, like you should, like the devil, you know what the devil loves? The devil loves like the person that's not chasing Jesus. The devil ain't worried about that.
No.
The devil's worried about the person that's chasing Jesus, that's trying to make an impact. They're going to come after you, and there's going to be attack. There's going to be people that say things to you and make you feel some kind of way. It's kind of like the Jocko though, right? That's good. Good. Yeah, so what? Good. Like, bring it.
Hey guys, real quick, I just wanted to remind you that we have an official Undaunted Life store. You can go to shop.undaunted.life or check it out in the show notes. Guys, we're always going to have hats and shirts and a bunch of other awesome stuff. Go there, support us, wear the mission. Again, it's shop.undaunted.life. Check out the link in the show notes, shop.undaunted.life. Well, and I mean, we were talking about this a little bit at dinner last night. Like, when you have people that are so settled in their faith. I forget who said, Robbie Gallaty, a pastor out of Nashville. I'm reading his new book, getting ready for an interview with him. And I've heard other people say something similar to this, but you'll hear people give you like really bad advice, which is like, if you don't feel peace about a decision, then it's not the right way to go. I'm like, okay, we're going to open this Bible and we're going to look at the people that had peace in the decisions that they had to make. You think Abram had a lot of peace in the decisions that he had to make whenever he had to leave his house where he was real comfortable and all that type of thing. And God's just like, I need you to go. Okay, where are we going? I'll let you know on the way.
I bet Saul had a lot of peace.
Yeah, he had so much peace on the road to Damascus and different things. This isn't a book of peaceful people making peaceful decisions. No, it's people that were dying to themselves, picking up their cross daily in order to follow Christ. And again, when you talk about Paul, snake bit, shipwrecked, beaten, imprisoned, like all these different things. But the calling was for evangelism. Like he wanted to evangelize the entire known world at that time, to take it to the edges of the earth. And so when these people talk about, oh, I just don't have peace about this, it's probably not good. It's like, when you're in turbulence and friction, that's a pretty good idea that that's where you should be. So like my coaching program, Dominion, like I tell these guys before we start. So after they sign up, I'm like, by the way, in some way, shape, or form, you've been on the couch. As it pertains to your life, you've been on the couch. As it pertains to your body,
on the sidelines,
your spirit, you've been on the sideline. Yeah, you're not in the game with your wife. You're not in the game with your kids. You're not catechizing them, discipling them. You're not doing any of those things. Joining this program means you're in the game now. So I'm like, be ready, because there's going to be financial issues, relational issues. Your kids are all of a sudden going to go crazy. You're going to start arguing with your wife about categories of things you never thought were possible. You're going to get betrayed at work. You may even lose your job. Like you might get a bad diagnosis. And like we've had basically everything that I just spitballed happen over the life of the Dominion program. And I'm like, guys, this should not be a surprise. Like, because you were out of the game, and you're right, Satan was not worried about you. But now that you're in the game, it's like, all right, we need some resources in this area because we got to get this guy relaxed some more. We need him to go back to the peaceful guy that was okay and content with just sitting on the couch.
Yeah, and if Satan can't make you sin, he'll make you busy, right?
Sure.
Like just keep all these things at you so you can be so tied up you don't follow your purpose. I think one of the things that probably drive me the most nuts in our culture today is find your truth. Find your happiness.
What does that even mean?
It means what it means is like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to be average. It's okay to just be a slappy. It's okay to be a humpy. It's okay to not work hard. Whatever it is you're doing, like it's fine. You're good. Like which is the exact opposite of what we believe. Like that it doesn't make a lot. There's one truth. Like, and there's a lot of pastors in this country that are more offended or more worried about offending their congregation than offending Jesus.
Keep going
and doing what they want to, like doing what the book should be telling us to do. So I think it's part of our culture. So now we need to arm people in how to combat that. We need to make sure everybody understands what that looks like. And listen, the Bible also talks about sharing your faith, but doing so with gentleness and respect, right? Like it's something that we got to be very cognizant of when we're sharing. We got to understand that. Like, we got to show them the fruit. Like, the most important witness we have for God, by far, none. It ain't quoting scripture. It ain't going to church. It's the way you live your life. Like, that's going to decide whether somebody wants to jump in your faith or not. Like, it's not going to be quoting the Old Testament and knowing all this knowledge. It's going to be, do you look different? Do you walk different? Do you treat people differently? And guess what? We're called to be set apart. We're called to be different. It's going to look different. Yeah. And guess what? It's going to look, and when it looks different, just like in high school, if you want to go back to being weird, when you're different, like, people don't necessarily like it and don't care for it.
Because you're outside of the normal zeitgeist. You're outside of, like, you know, you just see the world a little bit differently. Because we were joking about, you know, high school. Like, I was kind of an odd duck in high school because I was in so many disparate groups because,
I would consider you an odd duck now,
well, odd duck, you know, that's fine. That's fine. Is it because I have a mustache?
No, the beard, man. We just got to get back to the beard.
I'm fine with that, right?
Well, apparently, talking to your wife, I mean, you have to be fine with it because she said no beard.
Well, she was just like, I was, you know, sick of not being able to see her face, which implies that she likes seeing my face.
That was the biggest surprise, honestly.
There's a lot of things that are going to shock you over your time here in Oklahoma. That's just going to be one of them. But whenever you look at the direction that we're going, everything is me-centric in our culture. Your algorithm, right? So if I were to open your, you know, Instagram or whatever, and we were to open my Instagram, we were just kind of flick through, we're not going to see the same posts because your algorithm is specific to you. And so we don't have this like common culture anymore where everyone's watching the same show. Like, everyone's going to see the same movie. Everyone's watching the same game outside of the normal thing, like World Cup Finals, Super Bowl, you know, like that kind of thing. Everyone's got their own thing going on. Like, think about it. You'll find someone on Instagram and you'll go to their profile and they'll have like 1 million followers. You're like, I didn't know this human being existed. You know, YouTube channel that's got millions of subscribers. And it's like, wait, all they do is unbox calculators and like tell people how this one's better than that. The last one put out by Texas Instruments. It's like, what? This doesn't make any sense. The problem, man, is when you get into the church context, when we try to make Jesus all about you, when we try to make the Bible all about you, like, there's a church here in my city and they got a big billboard, you know, outside of their church, and they're building onto their church and they've been around for a while. And the billboard says, "You matter." That is the message of this church. Now, is that message true? Of course it is. Of course they matter. But you know who matters way more than that? God matters. Mm-hmm. Morality matters. Where do we get morality from? There's capital T truth as it pertains to morality. But now everybody wants to segment off a specific theology that works for them, right? So they look at the Bible like it's a la carte. Right. And so it's like, hey, they've ordered the steak, but yeah, I'll take some grilled shrimp. I'll have a lobster tail. I'll have some clam chowder. And it's just like they just pull the stuff that they like. Yeah. But all the persnickety stuff that kind of makes them, gives them a little dyspepsia. They got a little bit of a tummy ache. They're like, yeah, we'll just leave that.
Well, I think, but I think even you, who's a strong believer, and me, who's a strong believer, we still gravitate. We love it when it's those things that we want to follow and it's easy. But when it's a little bit difficult,
we're not huge on that.
You're like, I don't like this. I don't prefer. Like, I'll be honest. When I became a believer, and when I would say up until like 5 years ago too. Like, when everybody talked Holy Spirit, I was kind of like a little freaked out. Like, I was like, what is this? What is that? That's a little bit weird to me. And then, I think as you grow in your faith, you become more comfortable and you start to read more and you start to learn more and grow more. But I think you do have to realize that the Bible, like, here's one of my favorite things. Like, the Bible is, when I go speak and when I talk to people, I love to say, like, listen, the Bible is not written for Christians. The Bible was not written it was not written with a purpose to, like, it was not written when going, this is the best way that is going on right now. This is the way it's done right now, and it should be. The Bible's a history book, right? Like, how do we know George Washington was the first president? Because it was a history book.
People wrote it down.
Like, this is the most transcribed, scrutinized, rewritten, like, book in the history of mankind. And that's the thing that we've got to make sure we gravitate towards, is like, this is truth. Like, just like I don't say stories from the Bible. These are accounts.
That's right.
Right? Like, this is truth. This is not made up.
Actually, say that again, because people are going to miss that especially if they're listening like me at 3 times speed. It's incredibly important what you just said, because when you talk about it like it's a book of fables, people that don't believe in it will think it's a book of fables.
It's not
I want
a
you
book
to hit that
of fairy
again.
tales and like made up stories. This is a book of accounts that what really happened.
That's
and that's what makes it even more amazing, is because some of the things that happens blow your mind. But but when Jesus is in Acts, after he's already done all this ministry and then he's been crucified, and the disciples are like, man, they're depressed and they're downtrodden. They're like, this thing's over. The gig's up. Peter's back on the beach fishing, like returning back to his old life. And then what happens? Then he shows himself.
Mhm.
And I think just like anything else, what's the number one thing in a crime or anything that happens? It's always the eyewitness. Like in history, everything that's been recorded, it's about eyewitnesses. Who saw it? Who was living during this time in proximity to it? And having 500 plus people that saw Jesus. And like, it's just, this wasn't something that was, I just think people look at it and they're like, man, I don't understand how some of this could be true. Some of this is like, no. This is true because people saw it. People felt it. People touched it. Like, and then the disciples didn't die great deaths. We all know that. Like they died horrible death. They didn't gain anything.
Mhm.
They didn't gain anything worldly by following Jesus.
That's right.
They actually lost, right? Like they got crucified upside down. They got burned alive. Like they were getting put in positions consistently that were bad and not good because of how they felt, but because it was so real. It was so, like, and think about now fast forward 2,000 plus years later, like we're sitting in a church. They were in that room, like deciding what church was going to be, and the Holy Spirit was there in Acts with them, right? Like that was the foundation of 2,000 years later, and you're like, holy cow, like this is crazy. This is nuts.
Well, it's when people love to argue like, oh, the disciples just got together and colluded and, tried to make this all up, and they just didn't do a very good job. That's why they got crucified upside down and pulled apart by animals and burned alive and all those different things. There are plenty of people that have died for what they thought was true. Plenty of people have done that, right? That's like a defining point of Islam, right? One of the best things you can do is die via jihad, right?
But
no one will die for something that is not true, right? So
you tell the truth immediately.
We would have some, because if we look at the apostles, obviously Judas killed himself, was never actually an apostle of Jesus. He was just a guy that followed him around, right? Because it says that he was overtaken by the devil. The devil indwelt him. You can't do that if you're in Christ. Okay, so let's establish that. John, they tried to like boil him alive and it didn't work. And so they were just like, go to Patmos. Patmos sucks.
Go to
so
an
just
island.
stay there and like, don't write anything crazy down. He's like, all right, check this out. Revelation. Yep. But then everybody else, you're right. Like, crucified upside down, beheaded, torn apart by animals. And we have no account from Christian observers, early church fathers, or anyone from any other worldview, Jewish historians, Roman historians, pagan historians, of any of them recanting what they said.
How like, do you say that again though? Like, that's so important. Like that there wasn't an opposition to this.
Well, and also you have to, so many Christians feel like they're always on their heels having to answer the questions of the atheists. It's like, no, actually time out. I'm going to turn the question on to you. How could Christianity, a small sect of believers, survive the Roman Empire?
And the Roman Empire
You have to explain that, because the Roman Empire, the dominant hegemonic force on the planet at that time, set out and made it one of its main goals to crush this little rebellion called Christianity, the followers of the way. It wasn't even called Christianity yet. They were first called Christians at Antioch, and it was a derisive term. Oh, those Christians, those Christ followers, right? How does it survive? Well, you talked about the 500 eyewitnesses. There were more eyewitnesses that saw the resurrected Jesus, and the only reason they were eyewitnesses to the resurrected Jesus because they saw the previous Jesus who was alive doing his worldly ministry during the 3 years around the Mediterranean Rim or whatever, or in ancient, Galilee. And so you have these individuals that have seen him. They know he's alive and they know why he died, right? They know that it was a propitiation of their sin debt that they owe to a holy God, and they put their faith into that. And they were either Gentiles that put their faith into that, or they were Jews that put their faith into that. And so when they're being persecuted, right? When Nero is like, where the term Roman candle comes from? It's because they were burning Christians alive to light up these lavish parties that the Romans would have at night, right?
It's not good, yeah.
And they were being marched to the Colosseum, where they weren't sure if they were going to be torn apart by gladiators or by wild animals. And what accounts do we have? They're not being dragged to their deaths. They're not saying, no, just kidding. I know Jesus it was a twin. This was like, hey, 2,000 years from now, it'll make sense because there's going to be a movie Christopher Nolan puts out called The Prestige, and it was actually a twin brother, and, we just switched them and blah.
They're like, nope, it happened.
They're singing hymns.
I saw it.
They're praising God. And yeah, it's not fun being pulled apart by animals, I would imagine. It's not fun being burned at the stake, all those different things. But we didn't see any of them recant what they said or say, hey, I knew this wasn't true. I just thought if we stuck with it long enough that we would get monies and honeys. It's just like, that's just not really the reality
Monies
of what
and
happened.
honeys.
Because that's what people are like, oh, these people wanted influence. They wanted all that. It's like, okay, so they picked a dead Jewish construction worker to worship and you thought that was going to turn into influence that would overpower the Roman Empire? You're dumb if you believe
a day worker from Nazareth. That's what that was where you're attaching your wagon.
That can't, it doesn't work that way. That's not how how humans operate.
But and that's why you should have that's why when you're talking to atheists or when you're talking to other people with other religions and stuff, like you mentioned Muslim, like, hey, how about every other religion? Like I can see the tomb.
That's right.
I know where the dead body is.
Yeah,
and it's buried there, and ours isn't. And by the way, this was talked about for years upon years before, and all these things that were told to be were going to come true, right? Like all these. This blows my mind, by the way. Like just for 10 of those prophecies to come true, just for 10 to come true,
that's right.
You could fill up the state of Texas 3 feet deep with coins, with silver dollars, put a red dot on one. And the likelihood of that happening is you finding the red dot with one pool.
Yeah.
Like just go in there and pull one out, like 3 feet deep, the whole state of Texas.
Yeah. Lee Strobel talked about that.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite analogies that he uses, but it's just, it's incredible. You should have so much confidence because it is history. Like it's not something that was made up. Like when an atheist is talking to you, like what's your reasoning for believing what you believe, right? And I think we've all learned now too. Like Charlie Clerk obviously did it at such a high level.
Yeah.
Questions. Like ask questions. You don't have to always be on the defensive and always have to be defending. Like you can ask questions to understand where they're coming from and what they believe, and then it falls in one of 3 buckets that you can start to go attack and the right way, not not being a turd, but like asking questions to make them think. Because hey man, like we're really sure of this because it was documented. Like we're really sure of this because it was eyewitnesses. Oh, we found the Dead Sea Scrolls too. Like word for word, like
matched up.
It's pretty daggum believable. It's pretty believable.
So let's use Charlie Kirk as our example because you're exactly right. So I have a speech that I do. I wish I could do it more, but it's how to defeat the top pro-abortion arguments. So I take like the top 18 pro-abortion arguments, like my body, my choice, or you only care about the baby before they're born. It's just a clump of cells.
Clump of cells.
And so as opposed to giving you statistics and winning phrases, I give you questions. When someone says this, here's how you respond with a question. And so Charlie Kirk was a master at this. He would ask very prickly questions, right? They weren't rude, but they were incredibly pointed.
Which makes
sharp.
You want to defend it quickly.
That's right.
And you feel some kind of way.
And so if someone's an atheist and they're coming at you for your position, a prickly question to ask would be, how did you come to your belief in nothing?
How did this all get created?
Yeah, because, you believe that time, space, and matter had a timeless, spaceless, immaterial beginning, that everything comes from nothing, and everything you believe actually violates the tenets of science that you purport to stand by. How did you come to the belief in nothing? Hey, here we are standing here having a moral disagreement. Where do you get your moral foundation? To what authority do you appeal to tell me that what I'm doing is incorrect? And I mean, this happened with a good buddy of mine. So Mike Ritland, Navy SEAL and all that, he actually professed Christ here at this table after years of being an atheist. But one of the things, when he got kind of mad at me, like, why do you care so much whether or not I believe in God? I was like, well, because I love you, Mike. Because I'm like, look, in reality, if you're right and I'm wrong, I will have wasted a whole lot of time, effort, and money in this thing that didn't matter, but we both end up at the same place, buried in the ground in a pine box, eventually, consumed by the earth, right? But if I'm right and you're wrong, it's an eternal destination of a place that you don't want to go. Hell is a door that's locked from the inside. And I was like, I don't want that for you. And so that's why I'm going to challenge your presuppositions that we're just highly evolved chimps that figured out language, pants, and fire, and somehow came to this place where we have this agreed upon standard as a culture as to this is right. We can't exactly know why. This is wrong, and we can't exactly know why. But that's why I kind of like Christians need to have some lead in their pencil whenever they're having these conversations. Don't be the Christian that's constantly pushed back because you believe the fanciful 11th commandment of thou shalt be nice, thou shalt be winsome. It's like every now and then, like look at Jesus, look at Paul. Like they were coming right at
some
people,
sharp tongues, bro.
And they were hitting. Like when's the last time you said something that made a mob of people want to stone you to death? Right? Because like if you're never doing something like that, if you're never standing up and pushing back against actual nefarious power, then you're not actually being Christ-like. Because there were several moments that they wanted to kill him just for the words that he was saying.
It's the Great Commission, not the Great Suggestion.
That's right. It's not a
Like
polite suggestion.
we're commanded to do it. But one of my favorite abortion topics is when people say, because people are all about different rights and women's rights and their right and their choice, and I'm like, you're 100% right. Like I'm with you. I think women should have a choice. They had a choice.
They did.
They made their choice. They had sex. They didn't protect themselves. They had a choice. Like that was their choice. But with that choice came consequences. Like, so you're telling me because they made a choice that was not rational or in the moment or not smart, now you're telling me that you can kill a baby? Like, it's their decision? No, they made their decision. I think people talking about women's rights, I'm like, yeah, they had the right. They had that choice to make and they didn't make it. And people are like, oh, I didn't think about that. I was like, yeah, it's kind of an important part of it. So there's always ways to attack but not attack. And I think the easiest way is questions. And just like, didn't she have a choice? Didn't she have that choice before she had sex? And then once she made that decision, obviously now she's created a baby. Oh, it's a clump of, and then obviously you're going to continue to talk.
You have to be comfortable asking the uncomfortable question, because when you say something like that, 100 times out of 100, the very next thing they go to is, what if they were raped? And so
don't talk about the 0.0001%.
But even with them, like you try to get them, they would never agree to this. It's like, okay, statistically speaking, that's an incredibly rare occurrence. It does happen, and I do want to talk about it because it's very important. But the other 99-ish% of abortions occur because of convenience. The woman doesn't want to have the baby. It's bad timing. It's going to affect their career. They don't know who the daddy is, like all those kinds of things. They don't have enough money right now. Would you agree that all of those reasons are not sufficient enough for a woman to terminate the life that's inside her? They'll never agree to that. But then you go to the rape thing, and it's like, okay, do you believe that we should punish people that rape other people? They're like, yeah. And then I will be like, I agree with you. I actually probably am more extreme about it than you. I think people that are raped should be castrated and killed. Personally, I think that society would be much better if we never allowed those people to ever do something like that again. The only way to guarantee that is to castrate and then kill them. They probably wouldn't agree with that, but it's like, okay.
Castrate first so they make sure they feel the pain of it.
That's
right.
Then
you're going to kill them.
Exactly. We're going to castrate them, then we're going to let them think about it, and then we're going to kill them. So they may not agree with that, and like, that's fine, but that's where I land. But it's like, I think that we should punish the rapist. I don't think we should punish the child. That had nothing to do with the rape. And then, I've done this before when I do my speech. I have 2 ultrasounds. One is of my second son, Elijah, and one is of another baby that was conceived in rape. And I show them the ultrasound side by side. I'm like, which one's my son? Which one was the one that we planned to have, that we welcomed him into a loving home, that we wanted him to be there? And which was the other one was because mom was violently raped? Can you tell me which one? You can't. Why? Because there's a value judgment being made, and these are both human beings that are living and made in the image of God, and they deserve our protection. And so even when the woman didn't have the choice as to the means by which a baby was placed inside of her, eliminating that baby does not eliminate the rape. No. All you've done is add a murder to a rape.
Yep.
And so it's like, if you're comfortable with that, might I suggest that you have a potentially seared conscience that you could come to a conclusion like that?
And how about now too? Like, you're seeing more too, almost full term.
Look at Massachusetts. They just signed a bill into law, and they were all clapping
and celebrating.
They loved it. I mean, so think about this. So people don't like talking about this, but you're bringing this up. This is important, David. So you're at 40 weeks gestation, right? That afternoon, you're going to be induced. It's time to have a baby. That morning, you could drive to an abortionist in Massachusetts and kill your child, right?
And you can't tell me it's a clump of cells at that point. You've seen it move.
It's like
and obviously there's a lot of that. There's a lot that's proven with that too. But like, golly.
Well, that's why we support a Hope Pregnancy Center here throughout the state of Oklahoma, because 85 to 90% of women that see their baby on an ultrasound
changes everything.
They realize all the propaganda they've been fed. Because it's like what some of these, I mean, these man on the street interviews, especially with college age girls, is preposterous because they've never been more liberal, less religious. But they literally think it's like baby soup inside their stomach. And then all of a sudden, right before the baby comes out of the vaginal canal, it like coalesces into a human being, and poof, now it's out. And it's like, so geographically speaking, it changed locations from inside the woman's womb to outside the woman's womb. And now it's valuable and worthy of protection. because all the arguments fall apart when it comes to abortion, because it's like, babies are very inconvenient. Because I'll ask them, can I kill a 6-month-old?
Yeah.
And they're like, well,
that's
no,
not a
that's
question they're
crazy.
gonna
I was
like.
like, well, no, that baby is dependent on me for life. Because if my wife and I left and put that 6-month-old in the middle of the floor, unless another human being intervenes,
Correct.
that baby's not going to die, correct? Yeah. Well, yeah, they're going to die. Well, then, the fact that they were attached to mom beforehand for sustenance.
They're still dependent on mom now.
They're still dependent now.
Yeah.
Like there's some teenagers that are still dependent on their so can I kill my 14-year-old because they're starting to really like cramp my style?
I want to kill my 16-year-old sometime.
Yeah, he doesn't mean that, ladies and gentlemen.
Not literally.
He's talking about that figuratively. But again, as a Christian, as a pro-lifer, as a conservative political individual, if you're not prepared to deal with those parts of pushback, then that is going to continue to permeate. Those negative satanic ideas are going to continue to permeate throughout society.
People are going to take the Bible and they're going to take pieces of it and not understand the historical context of the Bible, when it was written, like who was writing it. Like there's all that stuff that and listen, we're not all going to always know all of the details of that. But it's important for us. This is one thing that's really important to me is like there's a lot of gray area in society and in life. So much gray. That gray area becomes very black and white and very red when you start to read those words. Mm-hmm. Like when you read your Bible, you start to understand exactly how God stands on it. Well, God doesn't address gambling. Well, I think he talks about it actually pretty specifically in the Bible. Like, does it mention sports gambling and betting on the Cowboys and the Packers? No. But like, if we'll do some research into gambling, like, let me ask you a question. I don't think we serve a God in heaven that's with our relationship and our religion that we serve. With that religion, is it about us or is it about others first? It's about others first, right? So in order for me to win a bet, somebody else has to lose, right? Like so. But I'm just saying, there's so much gray, man, and there's so many things that like, it doesn't address, it doesn't address this because this in this LGBTQ, it does very early in the Bible. Like we can turn very early in Genesis and we
Genesis
can just
1:27.
Yeah, we can go right to it that he created male and female, right? Like so. I think that's where we get ourselves in trouble. And sometimes we just got to understand if we can do a little more of this will give us plenty of information, plenty of ammo. It doesn't mean you have to articulate it like you. I mean, you're bright, you're smart. You know all these big words, by the way. You're kind of blowing me away with some of these big words, but like
I can use way more, but go ahead.
You have large, well, do it slowly.
Chrysanthemum. There's one.
God bless you.
I don't know what that is. I don't even know what that is. Is that a plant?
But don't you agree? Yeah. Like the more you've gotten in this,
that's right.
The more you've realized like it's not as much black and white as or it's not as much gray area as you think.
Well, here's the thing about how I'm holding a Bible for those of you just listening to this. The more I get into this, the more it gets into me.
Dang right.
The more it gets into my soul, the more it gets into my language, the more like.
And the more you put it in here, pointing to my heart, the more it comes out here of my mouth.
And if I squeeze you, what comes out? So being around Phil Robertson and having, the opportunity to be his friend or in the last few years of his life, if you squeezed Phil Robertson, the Duck Commander, right? Mr. Duck Dynasty, the Bible came out and he wasn't performing.
No.
It wasn't like, oh man, this guy sat down and he memorized the top 100 scriptures of all time and then he just pulls them out, like playing cards whenever he needs to throw something down. Oh, Uno reverse, bam. Like, no, that's not why he did it. It was just in there. You squeezed him and this came out. And here's part of the disservice that modern pastors have done because the state of modern theologies is absolutely atrocious. They're basically left-wing agitprops now that just kind of like prop up these activists and then they give them frocks at the end of the rainbow, literally. And actually, by the way, the rainbow has 7 stripes. The LGBTQ flag has 6. Everything that God creates, Satan counterfeits. 7's the number of completion. 6 is the number of incompletion. Right, so let's talk about that. But here, I've got one of those Bibles that has red letters in it. Some people don't like that, but I like it because if I'm just flipping through and I'm like, all right, I just landed in Matthew.
Some people don't like that?
And I'm right. Yeah, some people are like, anyway, we don't have to talk about
I've never heard that.
But like if I go to, Matthew 13, verse 18, I need to know kind of where this is at in terms of the narrative of the book of Matthew. And so I see red letters. But if you believe in the Trinity, all of these letters are red. All of them. Because Jesus is part of the Godhead. And then you have dorks like Carl Lentz back in the day. He was on The View or Oprah or Katie Couric or one of those shows. And he said, God doesn't explicitly talk about gay marriage, and so I'm not going to talk about it from the pulpit. You only come to that conclusion if you read the Bible with your ears closed and your eyes closed. And so, because when Jesus describes sexual immorality, he describes it in a list of things that will defile a person. The Greek word used to write that down was porneia. It's where we get the word for pornography. What that describes is any sex outside of the covenantal marriage between one man and one woman for life. So that includes two guys banging, two women banging, a guy banging a sheep, like, pederasty or pedophilia or, polyamory, like it includes all of those different categories. And so Josh Howerton put it in a really unique way, is like, okay, people talk about, well, the Bible doesn't specifically talk about that. But if I were to go in a room with 100 people in it and my wife's in there, and I took you in there because I wanted to introduce you to Undaunted.Life, I could do it two different ways. I could say, that's not my wife, that's not my wife, that's not my wife, that's not my wife. Or I can just take you to Kelsey and be like, here's my wife. There are some times in the Bible where there's the here's my wife situation. It's so explicitly clear. And then there's other times where it's like, oh, we have to use the narrative of Scripture to surmise what we are to do. Because you know what's not described in here? Nuclear war. I don't know if I were to have a nuke, I don't know if I should use it or not. But when it comes to my neighbor, I think there's some very specific ideas about whether or not I should be able to kill or abuse or take advantage of my neighbor, but it doesn't talk about my neighborhood in Edmond, Oklahoma, right? And so I think people are just purposefully obtuse, honestly, because they just don't want to deal with what this actually says.
And they'll purposely take, certain things, just like, wives to be submissive to their husbands, and you're underneath the man, and like to that where women don't matter. Well, women didn't matter back in the day. Like women didn't have power. Like guess who changed that? Jesus.
Jesus did.
Jesus absolutely changed the way that poverty was looked at, that women were looked at, nonprofits, hospitals, children, like all those things are different now because of him and because of the way he flipped the script. So it's important to understand when you're reading stuff in the Old Testament and then when you get to Jesus. And listen, if you're on your journey and you're trying to grow, like get in the Gospels as much as possible. Like you can't get enough of Jesus. You can't get enough of the accounts of his life. Like the people that will say like God never said, or Jesus never said he was God. Really?
It's absurd.
And again, that's these.
I and the Father are one. I'm pretty sure
that's really clear
because we live in the clickbaity culture.
No one gets through the Father except through me.
Yeah, that's right. Well, because people will basically take a PDF of the modern Bible in English and they will do a word search for abortion, or they'll do a word search for transgender, or they'll be like, well, Jesus never talked about it. It's like, but Jesus affirmed every bit of the Old Testament, including Genesis 1:27, and God made them male and female, male and female. He created them. He didn't create the spectrum of gender. He created the two genders. Like he had the idea for DNA. He had the idea for chromosomes, XX and XY. That was his idea that he brought forward to the entirety of humanity. But ultimately, where I feel like all this is going is what we're describing is schemes of the devil, right? Because Satan is incredibly crafty. Like he thought he had achieved checkmate whenever the Lion of the tribe of Judah was placed into the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. He had to have been celebrating for 3 days. Like, man, God told me in Genesis 3:15 that I was gonna bruise his heel, but he was gonna crush my head, and I'm the crusher, right? I'm the serpent who crushes. I will not be crushed by somebody else. And then the resurrection happened, and then he understands my time is incredibly limited, so I need to do everything I can because I don't know the time that all this is over and when the archangel is going to cast me into the pit for forever. But I got to take as many people out as possible. And so I've heard different derivatives in ways that people have kind of like talked about this, but it's like
I think it's amazing that you don't drink coffee.
Can you imagine if I did?
Oh my gosh!
You asked me for coffee.
And by the way,
this morning.
you said you listened on stuff at 3x,
3 times speed. People just don't talk fast enough.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does if you do it. Like you just.
I do 1.2, and I'm like,
oh, come on.
I'm in the South, man. I'm from Georgia.
So Oklahoma's kind of like no man's land.
We talk
like
slow,
we're in the South-ish.
But literally, I mean, I talk fast for people where I'm at, but like literally 3, that would make my head hurt.
So here's the thing. So watch this. If I were to talk at 1 times speed, you're going to hear everything that I'm saying. You're going to kind of get the point. But if I were to bump it up to 3 times speed and just talk a little bit faster and say, hey, we're going to be talking about college football, we're going to be talking about predictions and all that, your brain is going to listen faster. So this is the same thing whenever I speak at places. I'm like, hey, guys, I talk fast. So if you're struggling to keep up, just listen faster. Because people are like, oh, I can just listen faster. Because you don't read every word and memorize it unless you have an eidetic memory, right? Eidetic or whatever, like unless you have like a photographic memory, you're not going to get every word.
No.
You're going to just summarize this in your brain. That's what your brain's going to do. The same thing when someone's talking. You're not hearing every phrase and every like, individual adjective. You're just hearing the overall point that they're trying to make. So yeah, 3 times speed. Light it up.
You seem caffeinated for sure, always.
Can you imagine?
It's amazing.
Getting back to my point, the overall thing.
Thought bend.
Yeah. So Satan has your playbook. He has your game film. He's not omniscient, right? He doesn't know what you're going to do. But, and I think Joby was the first person I'd say it. He has your game film, so he knows what you're probably going to do. So he knows if you have a chemical proclivity, the closer he can get you to a chemical, the more likely you are to take it. If you have a lustful proclivity, the more closer he can get you to adultery, the more of a chance you'll take the bait. And so I think for men, as a good coach, if are you scheming more for defense or offense?
Defense.
Okay, so obviously you're scheming more for defense because that's, where you became an expert. You have to presume what XYZ high school is going to be doing offensively. What kinds of schemes, like what kind of sets, different packages, right? Are they going to mainly run the ball on 1st and 10 or on 2nd and 1? Or are they going to try to they're going to try to like go over the top and beat your safety. So you need to kind of have that in mind, or else you're not a good defensive coach. You're not a good defensive coordinator if you're not assuming what is the opposition going to try to do to me. And so one thing that I try to remind myself is if Satan were going to take me out, how would he do it? All right. I mentioned monies and honeys earlier. Those are usually the 2 big categories. But one thing I'm going to start asking people, and it's a tough question if you've never considered it before, is if Satan were going to take you out, how would he do it? And so like for you, have you spent any time like thinking about Satan's schemes, how he would do that? And flat out, if he were to try to take you out where you're at right now, how would he do it?
Pride.
Yeah.
I think pride comes to mind. Like I seem to, like, the more you read, the more confident you get, like the more prideful you get. And I just, I try to give myself some goals every day, and I try to make sure that I'm goal setting and trying to be forward thinking, but like being judgmental, like the Bible's very clear. By the way, the Bible, people talks about judgment and stuff. The Bible is all about judgment. It's all about teaching you to use good discernment, good judgment. But it also tells you too, the way you judge, you will be judged. And I think that's important. So when you start looking at people, like I will look at people and I'll think some thoughts and I'll be like, I got it together. I can't believe they're doing this. Yeah. And I'm like, so it's a constant battle for me of like me and my wife both together. And we talk about it a lot. We're like, we have to stop acting like we've got this together.
Yeah.
And they're messing this up when we're messing something else up, or we know what's going on in their life when we don't. And, a lot of times sometimes it's good intention where I want to help them. And I think I see something, but it's not your place, And so I think, pride is definitely something for me that thinking I know it all or I got it together, that I have to remind myself and give to God consistently. Because when I go through my checklist of where I'm messing up, it's like, oh yeah, thought I had that figured out. Thought I read that right. Didn't.
Well, and part of the way that you can fight against pride is, and I tell people this all the time, I had this revelation when I was in my 20s. You should always look back on who you were 5 years ago and at least be somewhat embarrassed. Like, I used to think that. I used to believe that. I used to train that way. I used to wear that. Like, those, you should always be able to look back. Because if you look back on who you were 5 years ago and you're like, man, still the same. I'm like,
it's not good, bro.
The same? Like, we should be hockey sticking upwards as we go. Because you got guys that will get to the 4th quarter of their life. They're not discipling Christians. They're not discipling anybody. They're not pouring into anyone younger than them, male or female, right? They're not helping that next generation of leaders kind of like avoid some of the pitfalls that they had. And you said it better than I would say, because you say pride. I say, Satan would try to get me high on my own farts. Like that's what Satan would try to do. He would try to get me to be like, man, you really are awesome. Mm-hmm. That person who liked your show or left the positive comment or sent you a 5-star review or whatever. You got this figured out,
man. You're helping so many. You're doing this.
You're anointed, right? Which might be true. Like depending upon who you're talking to, they may have been anointed by God to do that precise thing they're doing. But like thinking you did it. It's like you've heard people talk about, it's like, you woke up on third base thinking you hit the triple, right? And it's that kind of idea. Because I try to tell people, because when people try to give me compliments, like there's 2 things that I do. So someone will say something. I had a guy, I went to a speech recently. It was this huge, like Viking looking dude wearing a kilt and all that. He's on the front row. Before I went up and spoke, he's like, because of you, I've lost 100 pounds. I've started doing jujitsu. Like I've never been closer to God. I've never been closer to my family and all that. And I'm like, bro, I didn't do that. I didn't work out for you. I didn't pursue the heart of your wife for you. I didn't try to become a black belt at being a parent as well as jujitsu for you. You did that, right? I just said words into a microphone and you listened. But then if people are directly giving me a compliment, man, I just love how you think about things. I love how you package it. I love how you do your interviews, stuff like that. I go, man, isn't God so good that he gave me a brain that works this way? Because high school teachers didn't quite think this was going to work out. This level of frenetic energy, like stuff bouncing off the walls. Like,
so you redirect.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
To try to get away from the pride.
I say not me, but he. Like anytime somebody gives me a compliment. But like I'm very cognizant of it, just like with football, because when you're successful or when you're on TV like I've done, I get a lot of like people that want to take pictures and hey. And every time that I go to take a picture, I'm like, Lord, I didn't do this. Like I'm trying to remind myself consistently, Lord, I didn't do this. But I think like if you want to protect yourself, man, like it talks about picking up your cross daily. That's what the Bible talks about. Man, it's daily. Like, because we are such creatures of in the moment and what happened next. But like to pick up your cross daily, that's why my morning routine is my morning routine. That's why I set some standards and some things in the morning. That's why I'm constantly praying for certain things. And, throughout my day, like before I come into this interview, like, God, this is your space, help give me the words, right? When I go speak, I'm like, God, this is like the Bible. You tell me exactly, you will give me the words at the right time. So I'm not fearful. I'm not anxious. So when you're going through fear, when you're going through anxiety, like how are you combating that? Like God didn't give me the spirit of fear. 2 Timothy 1:7, like power, love, a sound mind. Like, and I think if we can understand when we're going through things or whatever the situation is, the answer is always God, because it goes back to the thief on the cross, right? Like, why am I getting here? It's not me. Why do I, at the end of my life, why do I get to heaven?
Because
it's Jesus.
Yeah.
Like it's always pointing towards Jesus. So we can't drink our own Kool-Aid, right? No. And I think, I have a tendency when I'm told I'm doing this, I can't, I don't like it. I don't necessarily love it because I'm like, it's not me, it's he. I'm not the one doing this. But you also realize God's using me and I want to be used and I want to be anointed. Like I pray for wisdom.
Yeah.
By the way, that book will tell you consistently, if you pray for wisdom, he'll give it to you.
That's right.
Like you're going to, if you pray for things like that of God, like he's going to give you and continue to grant you. When you walk in your purpose, man, like God's walking with you in your purpose. It's really, really cool when you find like your purpose and where you're going and why you're going that direction. And then when seasons of hard come, like I know seasons of hard are coming, but I know I'm in my purpose. And finding your purpose as a young person, finding your purpose as you get older, like you said to start this whole thing, man, it should always be changing. I'll never forget my son coming to me like last year at football. He was like, yeah, you told me this when I was younger, when you coached me. And like, I wish I could go back. And I was like, buddy, you'll say this in a year. Yeah. You'll say this in 2 years. Yep. I said, you're going to continue to say this throughout your life. I wish I could go back, because that goes to your point. That means you're always growing. That means you're always taking the next step. Like how do you climb a mountain? One step at a time. Like I can't do two, right? Like let's just do one. Let's just do one thing great every day. And you're always going to look back and you'll be like, dang,
yeah,
it's not bad.
Well, and I get asked a lot, because it's common questions like, man, before you talk, do you get nervous? And because everyone's nervous about public speaking and all that. So every now and then before I'm about to go up on stage, I'll get a little quick rush of butterflies. But the thing that I remind myself is God built me to do this. So why would he not see it through? Yep. Right? Because a lot of guys are like, man, just take every speaking gig you can get as many reps as you can get and all that. It's like, no, this is just what I do. Like, I don't need the reps, and that's not a prideful thing. That's just like, he's put this in there. All the ideas that I put together that I've repackaged from other people's wisdom over the millennia and given to you in a 45 to 60 minute package, I didn't do that because I didn't create the brain that even came up with the idea that said, I'm going to say this as opposed to that. And then it's like, okay, as long as I don't trip going up the stairs and as long as I get the first sentence out of my face without stumbling,
even if you trip,
it's going to be fine. Oh yeah, just
it'd still
roll
be
through.
But it would be. It'd still be funny.
Yeah, just lean into it, because it's the same thing. Like, you can embarrass yourself in front of people, because I've been introduced as things that I'm not before. I've been introduced as a Navy SEAL, even though I never served in the military. I've been introduced as an MMA fighter whenever I've never been in a cage with a mouthpiece, half naked, trying to fight another man. Though. Yeah, but I do jujitsu, and somebody thinks, oh, he must do that UFC thing. And so I can embarrass those people and correct the record in a funny way, or I could just do it kind of subtly so that I protect the host, right?
Yeah.
But same thing before I record, because my solo setup's right behind us. Before I record a solo episode, and I just recorded one that's like almost 2 hours long. It's going to come out. It'll already be out by the time this interview's out. I remind myself, this is not my audience. This is God's audience. They've chosen to listen to me. I can't give them any of this time back. All I can control is the inputs, none of the outputs. All I can control is the amount of effort and preparation I put in. And then once it's happening to the, if you want to call it something, the performance, right? To the, the transfer of this knowledge from my brain through my face hole into your ear holes, right? And that's all I can control. I can't control how it's received, but I can control everything on the front end.
But if everybody's
listening,
like, do you know how freeing that is? Like a lot of people think
great.
of Christianity and they think of that faith like it's a rigid, restrictive rules. I'm like, no. This is the most freeing thing you'll ever have. Like, so the fact that you can do that, but you also have to purposely do that. Like you have to remind yourself, because there's going to be moments of doubt. There's going to be moments of fear. Like that pit comes up for a second, but then you remind yourself whose you are. Like, right? Because whose you are is powerful, right? And I don't know if I told you this the last time, but there's 3 ways to define identity, right? Like outside in. Like, what does everybody else say about me? Yeah. Miserable, bro. Miserable. Roller coaster up and down. Like, it's going to be completely up and down, because some people don't like happy people. Some people don't like sad people. Some people don't like fat people. Some people don't like rich people. Some people don't like poor. And then some people don't like people. Y'all know those people. Yep. If you don't, by the way, it might be you.
Yeah.
It's probably you.
Yeah.
But like, so outside in isn't going to get it done. Inside out is just as volatile. Like, I have thoughts in my head. I'm just like, where does that come from, God? Yeah. Like, how could that thought come into my head? Like the most obscure things. If my wife heard it, she would be mortified. If my kids heard it, they'd be mortified. If I said it out loud, it'd be mortifying, right? Like those thoughts exist in my head. Like sometimes you walk by the mirror and you're like, man, I look good. Sometimes you walk by the mirror and you're like, God, you're ugly. God, you're fat, right? Like, I mean, it's just, it's part of life. So that's just as volatile, but then it's top down. Like, what does God say about me? And the way you're living like that, it's freeing, man. But it's got to be a cognitive choice every day of like, God, look at what I get to do. So one of the things I wrote down yesterday, I was talking to God on the way to my little commercial shoot. And I was like, God, I need 3 things today. Like I need 3 things to work on. Like I'm about to do these commercials for 8 or 9 hours straight. My kids are at home and I'm Pouty McPowderson when I'm away from my kids and my wife. Like I hate hotels. I don't like them.
Yeah.
My wife came with me on one game day trip on college game day and she was like, I thought you were living it up. She was like, I thought this was like,
it's like, no, honey, this is the best Western in Baton Rouge.
This is it. Yeah. Like, this is what I do. I study and then I go do TV. I come back, I study. Like we go eat occasionally.
Yeah.
And this is awesome. But like, I just did, but God, literally I was like, all right. I was like, I am not going to complain. God has given me this opportunity. Oh, by the way, this opportunity where I'm doing a commercial with, by the way, God, I hope this blesses them. Right. But like, and I think I told you about, I don't know if I told your audience about prayer. Did I tell you about how I learned to pray? And
you talked about in the book.
Okay. But like, this changed my life, dude. Kyle, it changed my life and it changed my prayer life. Because if you're being honest, prayer is repetitive. Prayer is awkward. You don't feel like you're doing it right sometimes. Yeah. Like, and so I think like I developed the 3 R's for me. Like the first thing I do when I pray is reflect. Like what happened, man? Like no matter what part of the day, if you're in the afternoon, what happened this morning? Like what happened last night for dinner? What were the wins? What were the losses? Like, what do I have to be thankful for? It's amazing when you think about what you have to be thankful for, of what kind of mindset that will put you in. Like, I get to do this. I'm so thankful for X, Y, and Z. Like, reflect on what's going on in your life. So now you've brought God into your past. Like, and then the next one is repent. Like, where did I miss the mark? And I'll be honest, a lot of my prayers consist of, God, what am I not seeing?
Yeah.
Like, because I know I'm messing this up. And right now, judgment is on my heart. Like, being a judgmental butthole. Like, it's me and my wife. We're sending verses back and forth, and it's like judgment. Stop thinking you got this figured out. Stop judging people. So, like, that's something I'm constantly repenting of. Did I talk to my wife in a way that is wrong, that I need to bring to God? Like, that's the second R. So it's reflect, repent, and the next one's repurpose. Like, that next R is like, God, I've got to. So when I'm praying this morning, I'm sitting down with Kyle for a couple hours today. Like, be in it. Right? Like, help your words speak through me. And then guess what? Now I've brought God into my past, my present, and my future. And now I'm having a relationship and a conversation back and forth instead of like, oh, my kids, Like my kids are doing this. And one thing that drives me bananas, and I love this because I can do this with you. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I can't stand praying hands. I
like
don't,
the actual putting
I can't
together
stand
of
when
hands.
people,
Yeah.
I can't stand when people send praying hands.
Yeah.
It's a pet peeve when people say I'm praying for you. You know what I do? I break out my audio text now and I pray and I send it to you.
You've done that to me.
Yes.
You've sent it to me.
Like I'm sending it to you. Like
Yeah.
I'm texting it out. I texted it to my son yesterday because I think there's a better chance of success than the audio message.
Yeah.
But like and we have great intentions of doing that, but man, like really stop. Really pray, like really one thing, like pray with like God, make my heart break where your heart breaks. Like make those things that are important to you prevalent to me so I can see it. And dude, it is amazing because it will happen. Like you will start to see things. You will start to see your judgment. You will start to see areas like a lot of times I'll pray like, God, where can I be used? And then all of a sudden I'm sitting in the makeup chair yesterday before the commercial and I'm like, oh, she just mentioned this. Wow. Like that just gave me an opportunity. Like,
Yep.
But it's all intentionality, man. It's being selfish in the morning, right? So you can be selfless the rest of the day. But
Yep.
having that on your mind consistently, having that conversation that's constant with God, not the transactional one, like, hey, I got up, I prayed, hey, before the meal, like developing those systems that will really help you succeed in prayer.
And I think that's really important for people to find that time, to find that quiet, to find that space where they can do those things. I've used that with other people. It's like be selfish in the morning so you can be selfless the rest of the day. Your wife's got to be on board with that. Your kids got to be on board with that. And also don't be such a stickler this morning. So, obviously I'm trying to build back from the ruptured bicep. My physical therapist yesterday said one word. He goes, push. Now's your time to push. You're outside of that
That's all you
window.
needed to
Don't
hear,
be
by
an
the
idiot.
way.
And so this morning, I remember the morning before I deadlifted for the first time since my bicep rupture. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I walked into my garage gym and I was just staring at my barbell, staring at my rack, like tomorrow, this is going to go down.
Coming to see you, baby.
And I downloaded and I deadlifted like 95 pounds,
So
right?
the new PR.
Just like a little
Good
bit.
for
Yeah,
you.
I mean, big time, right? So can you imagine going from rupture to PR? But so this morning, I put 225 on the bar for the first time and I just kind of stared at it. And I'm just like, this should be fine. I was told to push. You still got to be smart. You don't go from, couch
0 to 100.
to
Yeah.
the back where you were. And then you do it safely. And then you build from there. But you have to have these moments where you're in this quiet place of reflection. And part of my warm up when I work out in my home gym is I read the Bible as part of my warm up, right?
Okay.
Just to get it in there from the beginning. It's not a deep study. I don't have a bunch of different commentaries out. I don't have the Logos Bible software up, looking up the Koine Greek of this phrase or whatever. But I'm just like getting
Have you
it
ever
in
heard
there.
of street lights?
No. Well, like actual street lights, but not, yeah.
Street lights on your phone.
No.
In your streaming place. Street lights puts the word of God to a beat. And it's kind of like it's kind of a rap.
Okay.
Like, obviously there's a lot of studies with music and how it helps you focus.
The cadence of it for sure.
So it literally puts it behind. It'll put. So you made me think of that. Like you can you can go through Hebrews. Like it'll read it to you and it'll put a beat behind it, and it'll get you a little bit hyped. Like you can do it in your gym and stuff like that.
Well, and guys, just to the point you're even saying, you can't remember why you walked into the kitchen, but if a song came on the radio that you last heard when you were 10, you can sing all the lyrics by heart. What is that? The brain is a beautiful thing that God designed for you to be able to do things. Why do we put the Psalms to text and also to worship, right? Why can we sing them? Why can we have different pitches and voices represented with the same message? It's
that was
because
one of my
there's something in there.
That was my favorite moments with my son. He was like 16 and we're in church and he's starting to pay attention more. This was a couple years ago. He's like, that's a song. It's like the word of God. He's like reading. I was like, yeah,
it is a song.
He was like, and then he would do it again. He like, that's a song. He's like, and he's a lot of Chris Tomlin because Chris Tomlin is all about using the Bible and
that's right.
And I was like, that's crazy, bud, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's a lot of worship. Like that's what that is. That worship is straight Bible, straight to you.
Well, and the thing is if you're not engaging with it daily, you can't expect to get better at it. Like, because there are people that have really good intentions, but if they don't convert into actions, I don't really care, right? If they have an intention to love their wife,
I love the way you talk about
Christ,
that, by the way. Like,
but okay,
intentions are worthless.
Let's say you woke up this morning with the intention of loving your wife as Christ loved the church, but then you treated her like a subservient piece of garbage. I could give a crap less about what you intended to do. I can only evaluate what you did.
Oh.
And so as an old country person would say, it's like crap in one hand and hope in the other and see which one fills up first. Like, I can't do anything with hopes and dreams. I can only do things with actions that I can evaluate. Same thing, the people that think about being in shape, that doesn't get you in shape. You have to go and do the work. People that think, wouldn't it be awesome if I could quote scripture, or if I could, disciple my children or do a family devotion? And then they want to come to a guy like me and say, well, how do I do this? And I'm like, you want to know the best way to do this? Is by doing it. You people ask Jocko Willink, what's the best way to get better at doing pull-ups? What is he going to tell you? Do pull-ups. How do I get better at jujitsu? Train jujitsu. Like,
there is a sanctification process though. And I know you know this, but like, just for your audience, like, cause I'll never forget, like, I became a believer and I'll never forget, man. I start chasing Jesus my senior year of high school, and I'm on fire. And I'm reading my Bible, and I'm starting to understand, like, oh, these words matter. Like, what comes out of my mouth matters. And I'm in lunch aid, by the way, the best class in the history of mankind. All 4 lunches.
Go. Yeah,
you get all 4 lunches. That's this,
and you ate them all.
This led to my obesity, by the way. It led to my fatness.
That's right.
But in the first lunch, one of my buddies cussed, and I was like, man, hey, stop doing that. Like, you got to honor God with your words. And then I get in the third lunch, and there's something that broke out, and I was just like, man, blank that. And I was like, crap. It's still in there. So, if you're somebody out there that is, you're struggling with that sin. Listen, we all got thorns in the flesh. We all have things that we are going to struggle with, that is going to be harder for us than others. Some people, it's lust, like you talked about. Like that, to me, that's not something that I struggle with as much. Like judgment, all in. Judgmental turd. But like, we're all going to have those things that we struggle with. Just because you fail doesn't mean you quit. Like, I compare it to the highway. Like, if you're driving a car and you go off the shoulder, you don't just go, crap, I'll drive in a ditch. Steer back between the lines, right? Like, go a little bit further. Like, you're still being worked out, but you're talking about something different. But I don't want people to be discouraged either if they're, I'm still fighting this sin. You're going to fight it for a while.
Well, look, you're a success story because you have overcome, ADHD and obesity. And I mean, look at where you're at now. Like, you've been able to.
I wrote a book.
I know.
If a defensive player can write a book, you can read it, baby.
Like, there's actual English
no
words
pictures.
in here.
There's no pictures in there.
I was expecting a pop-up book, to be honest. Whenever I got this in the mail, I thought there would be something popping up here. But man, we've weaved in and out of a lot of different things. But what do you say we take a break, come back, talk about college football?
Let's do it.
All right. Hey guys, real quick. I know a lot of you train for very specific things. So maybe you've got a mud race coming up, a mountain hunt, a 5K, or maybe you just want to keep up with your kids, or you just don't want to let the old man in. But for a lot of you guys, whether you're working out at the Globo gym or even your garage gym, you get there and you just don't know exactly what to do. And so you just kind of settle for the same old workout routine, maybe some bench press, bicep curls, a walk on the treadmill, and you know you're not really getting the most out of your workout plan. And I want you guys to stop wasting time at the gym. No more settling. It's time for you guys to get a guide to help you reach your fitness goals. And that's why I want to remind you about my good friends at Mountain Tough. Mountain Tough is a fitness and mental toughness app developed by military special operators and mountain hunters that's becoming a global movement for building mentally tough athletes on and off the mountain. Mountain Tough is a native app ready to be downloaded on all platforms, so that includes iPhone, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and there's more. Once you sign up and download the app or access the website, you immediately have access to hundreds of exercise programs and literally thousands of workout videos, thousands. So that includes structured hybrid strength and endurance programs, daily workouts, the full exercise library, mental toughness training, the Mountain Tough community, and accountability. And you can use it all on the go, online or offline, no matter where you decide to train. So if you're just getting started, that's great. They have programs for beginners. If you have minimal or no gear where you train, that's not a factor. They have minimal gear and body weight programs. And guys, if you're wanting to get into or maintain elite level fitness, they've got you covered with programs for top tier athletes too. And for a limited time, Mountain Tough is extending Undaunted Lifers like you an incredible offer. Go to mountaintough.com. That's MTNtough.com and enter the code Kyle when you sign up for a monthly plan to receive your first month free after your 14-day trial. So that's 6 weeks free to make sure this is for you. I'm sure it will be. That is 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app in the world. So stop wasting time. It's time to get real fitness results. Let my friends at Mountain Tough guide the way. Again, go to MTNtough. That's mountaintough.com, promo code Kyle. You want to talk college football now? I feel like we could.
I feel like you might need notes now.
Well, no, I mean, I can just close all this, but it's just kind of one of those things. But hey, that's why you bring in the experts.
That's right.
Okay, because why do I have to think whenever you can do it for me?
Yeah, how many times you say that in your life?
This is the first time. So,
I'm about to say, I don't see that coming out
first
much.
time that's happened. Well, so there's a lot of different storylines, and so we're going to get into some storylines. We're going to talk about the different things happening in whatever conferences. We'll talk Heisman. We'll talk college football playoff predictions. But maybe, arguably, the greatest story in the history of college football is IU winning the championship last year. Indiana.
Second losingest program in the history of college football.
Atrocious in a million different directions. And you bring in the Google me, I win guy. And it's just kind of like, okay, that's a cute thing. And, you go to the basketball game and you say, this team sucks, Purdue sucks. And, so does Ohio State and Michigan. And you get the roar from the crowd. But then they just kept winning. And then you're like, well, surely they're going to lose this game. And they won. Well, surely Ohio State is going to, stop the parade. And they just kept winning. Surely someone from another conference, someone from the mighty SEC or some other team is going to take them out. All the way through, they win the national title.
Undefeated.
I
never thought we would see that again. I didn't think when we went to 12,
right?
And now you're playing 16 games. I just didn't think you'd be able to do that and go undefeated.
Well, and we'll get into this with SEC going to the 9-game conference schedule, and so I'm just curious for you because I feel like with the news cycle, everything just moves too fast, and so the team could have just won the championship a couple of weeks ago, and then you still have to be like, wait a minute, who just won? But and we're getting into the preseason, their preseason top 10 and all that. They just lost the Heisman Trophy winner as their quarterback,
Number one
all that.
pick.
That's going to be hard to deal with, but just talk about from your perspective, because obviously not a single person on planet Earth predicted them to win the national title last year, and they did it in spectacular fashion. And in Miami was game. They were certainly game, and they almost pulled it off. But just what does that mean for college football? Is this just an aberration? This is IU had that, and they're going to go back to around 500 this year.
No, they're a blue blood now. Indiana
kind of feels that way.
They're going to be. They made it to the playoffs the year before. Remember, Notre Dame knocked them out. But then, last year, obviously they go undefeated, but here's the thing, college football has changed so daggone much. And that's what's awesome because everybody used to get so sick and tired of, it's Bama and Georgia. Yeah. It's Bama and Georgia. It's Bama and Georgia. Well, it ain't Bama and Georgia anymore. And not only do you have player movement where people can leave,
right?
Why is that important? Because here's what Georgia used to do. They used to sign 5-star guys out the yin-yang, redshirt them, have them waiting in the wings, and they were depth pieces.
Yep.
Those 5-star guys are going elsewhere now.
That's right.
Because they're going to get paid a lot more money to go somewhere else. Now you talk to recruiting to guys in the SEC and stuff, they're not trying to sign 2 or 3 5-star defensive linemen. Because if 2 of them don't play, they're going to leave.
That's right.
So it is a developmental play. It's finding your system. But Indiana learned how to do it. Indiana caught lightning in a bottle. But here's the number one reason why Indiana won. And why I'm curious. They're still going to be a top 10 team. They're going to go to the playoff. I don't think they'll win it again. But Fernando Mendoza was their best player.
Yep.
Number 1 overall pick. First Heisman Trophy winner from Indiana. But he was also a great person.
Yeah, great leader.
Great leader. He was okay being coached hard. He didn't have an ego. The kid doesn't have an ego. The kid loves Jesus. He's a cool cat. When you can coach your good players, your great players that hard, it makes it easy to coach everybody. Now they've got talented guys that just came in. Marsh coming in obviously is good. Hoover's coming in is good. You got elite guys coming in that are Hoover's the top quarterback in returning an FBS with over 10,000 yards, experience out the wazoo. But he's not Mendoza, and so that's what will be interesting to find. But they ain't going nowhere because they have billionaire boosters. When you have billionaire boosters, it's a little different than
Mark
millionaires.
Cuban's one of them.
Right? M versus B is a big deal. You're almost in the billionaire club. I'm still way down here.
Hey, I'm a thousandaire. I tell people all the time, I make thousands of dollars every year, thousands on top of thousands. But okay, so we're sitting here on the 19th of August. That's when we're recording this. We wanted to get this out before week 0. And so AP coaches poll just kind of came out.
Yep.
And so immediately everybody's, think piece is overrated, underrated, right? No one's really shocked by many of these rankings, like Ohio State at 1. We just talked about Indiana at 6. It's obviously very SEC top heavy and dominated. And then when you get towards the end, you got some, we don't really know how good Utah is going to be. We don't know how good Iowa's going to be. We don't know how good Houston's going to be. But as we sit here right now, I've got some overrated, underrated that when I'm looking at, I'm it makes sense that they're there, but I just don't know that they're going to end up anywhere near that. But as you look at the AP poll, and you don't need notes because I know you just got the whole thing memorized, who are those teams right now that like probably a little bit overrated, probably a little bit underrated?
I was shocked Ohio State was one. And,
Okay.
and I say that because like they didn't lose like good players. They lost like dudes on the defensive side. They lost the number 2 pick, the number 7 pick, the number 11 pick, the number 34th pick just on defense. Like, and I know they're going to reload. Ohio State has the hardest schedule they've ever had in the history of their program. The history. Like, not only do they go at Indiana, not only do they play Oregon, not only do they play Michigan, they go at Texas.
That's right.
To start the season. They go at Iowa. Like, they play Illinois. Like, they play literally one of the hardest schedules, period, in the country. So it's going to be interesting to watch them reload with that schedule. A&M is at 8, I think.
They're at 8.
They lost over 10 guys that were drafted on the team last year, rebuilding both line of scrimmage. The schedule is absolutely brutal. Like that, I don't see them climbing up and being in that top upper echelon. Like I think that's really, really tough for them to ask. So I think those two teams, again, you're losing so many guys. Like we assume they'll reload, but that's not always the case.
Well, I thought A&M as well. Part of the thing is A&M never wins anything, right? And so because I remember, again, I mentioned my buddies that went to Kansas. This is when they were both in the Big 12, and they just remember going to A&M, and they're like, how are these players this big? And I feel like year after year after year, A&M, didn't matter who the coach was, if it was Jimbo or some random guy they always had a top 10 recruiting class, and they just never turned it into a dominant,
but that's changed under
season.
Elko. Like they won 10 games. They went to the college football playoff. Like this is a.
But they were 1-2 against ranked teams last year.
Yeah,
and so when they played good teams,
they floundered
they
down the stretch for sure. Right. They did not play great down the stretch. But I still think it's still like they were getting those recruits and winning 7 games with Jimbo Fisher. Like they're on their way up. And here's the thing: I want to be a Texas school. Period. Like I want to have the oil money
and the recruits.
Well, you got both.
Yeah.
So, like, who do I want to be in this day and age? I want to be Texas Tech. I want to be Texas. I want to be Texas A&M. Like, Oklahoma's got some oil money. They're around all this oil money. I want to be Oregon, who has Phil Knight's pretty good at Oregon.
Yeah.
At Nike.
He's made money before.
Nike,
I think
he's doing okay.
Yeah.
I want to be Indiana. Like Georgia and Alabama, they don't have those billionaire boosters.
Ole Miss,
yeah,
Auburn.
It's not going to be the same.
Well, and then we'll get to underrated here in a second because you mentioned one that I think is underrated, but. When you look at Georgia at 3, moving to the 9-game SEC schedule, they were beat by Ole Miss last year. I mean, that was an incredible performance by Ole Miss. Like you just watched that game and it was just almost like, what do you do? Well, like, what do you do with how they were able to perform? But so I don't know that I'm a believer when I watch Gunnar Stockton. I don't know. And again, he was second year as a starter coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe in him to like, take over a game. They lose some really good pass catchers.
Yeah, everybody.
So who's that dynamic vertical threat guy that's on there? But even still, even if you had them, even if you had Vikings Randy Moss, is Gunnar going to be able to get the ball to him?
If you had Randy Moss, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you got Randy Moss, just throw it up and he's going to go get that thing. So I'm wondering about Georgia, and they've got, name a school in the SEC that doesn't have a tough schedule. But I struggle to think that they're going to be able to do the things that they're going to need to do in those tight SEC games. And so 3, it's not egregious, but it just feels high with especially what they lost, in the draft. And I think there's more question marks than you would expect from a number 3 team.
Their schedule's better for SEC play for sure. But I think at this point though, like you trust Georgia, you trust Kirby, you trust who they are. Last year, they were one of the youngest defenses in the country. Everybody coming back. Best secondary in the country. They're in the conversation. Top 3 secondaries in the country right away. One of the best linebacker cores. One of the best defensive lines. Last year, they were like 62nd out of 64 Power 4 teams in sacks and tackles for a loss. And they were still really good. Like, now, all those guys coming back, so many freshmen that I could go across the board and name, Elijah Griffin. Like, I could go down the list. They're all sophomores, and they're big-time playmakers, big-time contributors. So that defense is going to take a massive step forward. The offense and this team, like Canyon comes over from Georgia Tech at the receiver spot. Taylor's a guy they recruit as the second 5-star guy they've had in the history of their program at receiver. Like, they haven't gotten typically great receivers. He'll be there. Roldan. The tight end room. By the way, you want to talk about going to a practice and seeing some tight ends? They're mutants. Like 6'7", 6'9", like just absolutely like unbelievable targets. Like they could be a big factor. The run game will be nasty. Georgia's one of the best teams in the country. If Gunner's the same guy he was a year ago, which he shouldn't be, by the way, that's a year of experience.
Yeah.
If he's the same guy that ended the season, they can't win it. They can't win it all. But they're going to punch you in the face repeatedly. Like, I bet you love their physicality and their toughness. They win close games always. And their talent is up there with everybody else's. So, like, to me, it's just Gunnar Stockton making a few more plays a game in the pass game. And if I knew that was going to happen, I'd pick them to win a national championship.
That's right.
That's all they're missing. Like, if they can make plays from the pocket and down the field consistently, this is a team that you don't want that smoke.
Well, that first month of the season is going to really tell us a lot. Now, in terms of underrated, so you mentioned Texas Tech a second ago. They're preseason ranked 12th. The Big 12's not great, right? It's flat out not great, but they're returning like 12 or 13 starters, right, on both sides of the ball. Like, you want to talk about oil money, having all the players, the
Cody
transfer
Campbell
portal,
is good to
like,
them.
It's been really, really good to them. I look at Alabama, they're 13th. That's the lowest preseason rank, I think, since like, 08? What is that, like right when Saban got there or something like that? And, I mean, in terms of their roster, there seems to be a lot of upside, but it just seems like people have just kind of agreed, and the coaches poll seems to agree, Alabama's just kind of mid. Like they're gonna be okay, but they're gonna lose 3-4 games. Like they're not really gonna be knocking on the door of the college football playoff.
Kalen DeBoer's lost 4 games in year 1, 4 games in year 2.
Yeah, and so you're just like, that's just who Alabama is now. That's their identity, and this is going to be the start of their slow decline, right? We're going to see a little bit of a coaching carousel there, and that's just who Alabama is now in the post-Saban era. I don't know that it's time. I think the Big 12 is being perfectly valued as not being very good, but like Texas Tech didn't look awful in the playoff last year.
Their defense kept them in the game. Their offense was just terrible.
So those are the 2 underrated ones that stood out to
Texas
me.
Tech is, Miami's at 7, and I think Miami's better than that. Like Miami lost a lot of players, but Miami's offensive firepower is the best in the country.
Yeah, top 10 is Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, IU, Miami, A&M, Ole Miss, OU.
Yeah, and so like they're going to be great. We'll talk about them more later.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Texas Tech, their roster construction so when you watch them now at practice, like way bigger, offensive line, defensive line, bigger, more physical. Like they're building their roster it's only growing and getting better. Their schedule is great. The next 3 best teams in the Big 12, the next 3 best teams, Texas Tech doesn't play. They don't play Utah. They don't play BYU. They don't play Kansas State. Like
that's just they're
wide
open.
Last year, they all 11 games they won by 20+ points. They'll probably do it again this year. Like, and they'll roll into the playoffs. So, I mean, if you're going to have them at 12, they're going to be better. Are they going to win a national championship? That depends on one thing. And it's the same thing with OU. It's the offensive side of the football. Like, they had no offense a year ago. Their defense is so, when I say dirty, it's freaking dirty. Like, there's 2 defensive lines and front sevens that are dirty, that are just so, like, are going to be so hard to bust, and that's Oregon, and that's Texas Tech. Like, so much depth that they can rotate guys inside and out. But it's Will Hammond. He had ACL surgery a year ago. Remember Sorsby and that whole thing that went down? He gone, and they spent a lot of money to go get him, and he was a top quarterback in the portal. That's what they were missing. Yeah. And they were Sorsby away from winning a championship. Like, so now that kind of is a little bit in flux with them at the quarterback spot.
Well, I want to get, are there any other underrateds out of the top 25 that you're thinking right now before we move on?
I think Miami will be
7. Yeah, it's hard to argue against the other teams that are ahead of them, but it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, it's almost like a holding position for them because the ACC is junk. And so it's like, we can just assume that they're going to perform.
And Notre Dame at that spot, like, listen, Notre Dame's going to be number 1 throughout the whole season, probably, or most of the season.
All right. So I want to get back to Notre Dame because I've got some thoughts, but since we're talking about Texas Tech, I'm going to go ahead and transition into this to talk about some other random teams. I'm going to give you an early trap game prediction for November the 14th. Texas Tech goes on the road to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State won 1 game last year. They were arguably the worst team in all of Power 5
Lost
football.
to Oregon by 776.
That game's still happening, right? That game's in the 3rd quarter. They're still running up the score. Yeah, there's another touchdown. New coach, Eric Morris. No one knows about him because he played it, because he was coaching North Texas, right? Like, what can this guy do? Brings his quarterback with him. brings a bunch of other people with him.
This is my squad this year, by the way.
Okay, and so I've heard you talk a little bit about Oklahoma State. We're sitting here in Oklahoma. We're 45 minutes away from Stillwater, from where we're sitting right now. The thing is, they're going to have the best plus minus over any team from last year to this year because they were 1-11. Can't get much worse. So even if they go 6-6, that's a +5. That's incredible.
They'll be more than +5.
And so the defense is a big question mark. It's kind of always been a big question mark, seemingly, for Oklahoma State.
But right now, it's a Sharpie, like as big of a question mark as you possibly can have. So
we got the Sharpie with the dot.
It's
okay, but it's the Big 12. No one plays defense anyway. It's just been that way for 20 years. And so
Texas Tech will disagree now.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But that I see that as a trap game. You go on the road. Texas Tech's probably undefeated by the time they get to the game. They're probably not going to lose to Sam Houston or Arizona State or anything like that. So you may go into that game. OSU is going to score points this year, guys.
100%.
Buckle up. They're going to score a bunch of points this year. And by the way, that's OSU. Ohio State can suck it. They're not OSU. They're the Ohio State, whatever those nerds are saying up there. OSU's down here. Why do you believe in Morris and kind of the system they're bringing in to be able to turn around a 1-11 season?
First of all, like you should Google right now who Eric Morris has coached at the quarterback spot. So I want you to pull that up.
Yeah,
and
I'll
then
pull
you
it
can
up.
read
You
it to
go
me.
ahead.
But Mestamaker, who came with him from North Texas, he's a first-round draft pick quarterback. He understands the system. So does Hawkins at running back. So does Wyatt at wide receiver. Like, these aren't good players. These are great players. Like, great players. So they brought in, they imported North Texas to Oklahoma State. There's a familiarity with it, and they'll absolutely be right out the gates, tempo who they are.
I just got to say these. Yeah, so I brought it up.
This is stupid.
This is his resume. You may have heard of some of these guys. So Emmett Brown, Drew Mestamaker, Chandler Morris, John Mateer, some guy named Cam Ward. I feel like he
number 1 overall pick.
I feel like he's done things before.
Oh, it gets better.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, pretty good. Number 1 pick.
Patrick Mahomes.
Heard of that guy before.
Patty Mahomes, the multi-time Super Bowl winner. Those are the people that he's coached.
Understand, this isn't.
None of those were blue. Cam Ward maybe, but none of those dudes are blue chippers.
Cam Ward went to Incarnate Word.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, so none of these guys were 5 stars coming out, right?
Like he and neither was Mestamaker. Mestamaker did not start a game in high school.
Wasn't North Texas his only offer?
Yes.
Okay.
He was the fifth string quarterback. But when you watch this offense, so he's brilliant. Like he's a quirky dude, and I think that's probably why he didn't get hired at other spots. Yeah. But like he's brilliant. The offense will ball. They're going to be really good. It's going to be a huge turnaround. And then it's not about great defense. It's like, can I please be opportunistic? Like get a few stops, because you're seeing way less tempo in college football than you were 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Like, multitude of reasons for it. The green dot obviously is one of the reasons. The clock that changed a couple years ago where it doesn't stop on first downs and out of bounds. Now it just runs until the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, and so if you're going to get the amount of plays you need in to score as much as you need, you got to go.
You got to go. So I'm all on them. That's one of my teams this year. One of my picks that I think is going to outperform what people think.
All right, so other teams to watch that I think are interesting. So you got Houston's
going to be
23.
Good.
You got Louisville at 24, and then you got unranked Cal. When you kind of look, so Houston, second-year coach, Willie Fritz. They got a transfer quarterback who's a kind of an elite playmaker. So Connor
Wigman came from A&M 2 years ago, and last year he was so good at Houston. He was better than he was at A&M.
Right.
Like
that's because A&M can never win anything. But hey, they do have a bunch of random people that go to all white parties and then yell for whatever reason. But it's definitely not gay.
I can sense that A&M you are not a fan.
It's definitely not a cult. Why would you even say it's a cult? Why would you dare say that it's a cult of weirdos down there that are drinking all the same Kool-Aid, even though they haven't won anything since the 30s? Then you got Louisville. You got Jeff Brom. Big play threat every single time the running back gets the ball.
Yes,
but then Cal.
Isaac Brown.
Now, here's the thing about Cal. No one can pronounce anyone on the team's name. You can't pronounce the coach's name. You can't pronounce the quarterback's name. That's not a real thing. No one even knows what you just said. And then the quarterback, you want to give me the quarterback's name? Jaron Kiwawu Sagapolete or something like that?
Sangapotelli.
Sounds like I'm ordering something.
You know what you do? You just go
Bettis.
KSN.
Yeah. That's actually better, right?
KSN.
And again, the ACC kind of sucks. And so it's like there's some interesting things here where it's like, okay, at the last 5 of the AP poll at the beginning of the season is like, this team could be atrocious. They might win 3 or 4 games, or they could, be a one-loss team, arguing for a spot in the playoff. And so Houston, Louisville, Cal are kind of those interesting teams that when they're on, I'll turn it on to kind of see what's there. Are there any other teams, ranked or unranked right now, where you're like, okay, keep an eye on this team, kind of like we're looking at Oklahoma State?
Well, 12 teams last year that started AP in the poll, 12 were unranked at the end of the season.
Right, including some big ones.
Clemson, Penn State. These are big name teams. Those teams you named are good. Auburn will be one. It's kind of the same thing. Alex Golish comes over from USF. Brings his quarterback who was one of the best quarterbacks in the country a year ago. The only guy to go 3,000, 1,000, 3,000 pass yards, 1,000 rush. They'll be interesting. They'll beat some teams that they shouldn't beat. South Carolina is super interesting because they're the only team in the country that nobody's talking about to make the playoffs that has explosive dynamite at quarterback, explosive dynamite at wide receiver with Harbor, who's a freak show. He was one of the top guys on Feldman's freaks list. And then explosive Dylan Stewart, who's a top 15 pick at pass rusher. Those are game-changing guys at the most important spots. Right? The quarterback spot is the most important spot. Edge rusher, the most important spot on defense. So I think those are some other teams too. Cal, Tosh Lapoy, the coach for Cal, he's one of the most intense jokers you would love him. He is right up our alley. We are absolutely kindred spirits.
Don't get him caffeinated.
He will bite your kneecap if he needs to chew through your kneecap to win. I can't wait to watch Cal. He told me his quarterback, KSN, that you talked about, he went to the first meeting. He's coaching at Oregon in the playoff. Goes to the first meeting at Cal. He's sitting in the meeting. He's like, raise your hand, Blake, raise your hand. Blake. And his quarterback's not there. He's going to the transfer portal, KSN. By the way, he's elite. That dude is a freshman, was one of the better quarterbacks that you could find in the conference, period. He's in Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. Coach finishes the meeting. He jumps on a bird, Air Delta, whatever, heads to Hawaii, lands, is looking on social media to try to figure out where he lives. No clue where he lives. Hits him up. It's 2 a.m.
Psychopath.
Goes and meets him at 2 a.m. from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. and gives him and says he'll give him a chance. That's the dude. He's a Cal grad, played there. That dude is on crunk juice. He's on a 10 all the time. Cal will beat people. His exact. I can't even read. I'm gonna. His exact.
Which, by the way, we can't just glaze over the crunk juice reference. I was so into Lil Jon when I was in college in the early 2000s. You know that Lil Jon was banned in clubs in Kansas because people were getting in too many fights? Because every time Lil Jon and the East Side Boys came on, everyone just started, they would throw their click up and then they would fight each other and break things. And so,
that's amazing.
From
the window!
For a little bit of time, do you know crunk juice was actually a thing? It was a product you could buy. It was an energy drink that you
Did you buy it?
1 billion% I bought crunk juice. It had no alcohol in it, but it was this gas station energy drink type thing. No telling what was in that thing.
You bought a gas station energy drink.
Why not? Why not? I mean, but I wouldn't do that now.
I'm not going to read this out loud. I just want.
Okay.
This is.
I won't read it either.
This is Tosh's text to me. Just read that one right there below the blue one at the top.
I'm not surprised.
That's what kind of dude he is, though. He's basically talking about what he's going to do when they're going to walk out of the tunnel. They're not. He's using words we're not going to use.
You need low key psychopathy to get to that point where you're okay.
That's why Cal's going to beat some people they shouldn't beat.
Well, okay, and so those are some teams that we're going to be looking at. Yeah. But now we need to kind of look at. All right, so here's kind of the main overarching things that everyone's going to be looking at. I don't think enough people are talking about the impact of going to a 9-game conference schedule for the SEC is going to do.
It's the worst decision I've ever seen them make.
Okay.
They're usually very forward-thinking and ahead of the curve.
So I want to hear why, but even beyond that, because, gone are the days of the 14 playoff where it's you really got to think, am I going to book the Citadel as my non-conference matchup, or am I going to book Michigan because we need another feather in our cap because there's only 14. When there was only 2 teams that got in, who's going to be the first team out? Now it's a little bit more expanded.
Oklahoma's got Michigan.
So we're going to get to Oklahoma because that's one of those weird. The first month of the season for Oklahoma might be the most interesting, but the SEC is always going to be brutal. It's a brutal gauntlet. That's why you can get beat by a Kentucky or a South Carolina or one of those teams, Mississippi State, on any random night. It's because it's the SEC and nobody sucks really.
And the atmospheres are very game-changing atmospheres.
Look at Vanderbilt out of nowhere. It's again, they're going to have, coming down off of having a, Heisman level quarterback. But okay, why do you disagree with that so much? And could that end up screwing the SEC a little bit? I mean, there is a committee. They're smart. They can put a team in.
No, they're not.
They went to college. They know how words work. Most of them.
they know how words work, but like a lot of times it's like, oh, what's the record? So here's the thing. Here's what's going to happen
They
this year.
default to the loss column.
Yeah. And here's what this will happen this year. So you can write this down. BYU is going to be 11-1.
Yeah.
11-2. An SEC team is going to be 9-3, and they're going to be on the outside looking in because and they're scared. And BYU doesn't play Texas Tech. They host Utah and they play at Notre Dame. Like other than that, you can go ahead and chalk up a bunch of wins. I mean, they're going to win all. They don't play anybody like they're going to be better than everybody they play. So like it's going to be proof this year. So I'm just going to do this math thing with you real quick. Okay, let's math real quick.
Math hard. Okay,
if you add another conference game, half of your teams are going to have another loss. Look at that math.
That's how math works.
Do you see that?
I'm here. I'm with you.
Defensive guy, brilliance.
Made it happen.
It's not smart. It wasn't a smart thing to do. I think when the playoff expands, which it will because it's about money, like it'll be better probably in the long run. But for this year, man, like I think you got so many teams that are right there that are going to be 9-3, that are going to be on that threshold that you're going to be. What's going to separate them? It's just going to be the record.
Well, look at Texas last year, right? Okay, you don't lose the Florida. All right, if you don't lose the Florida, then we don't have to have this, Sarkisian going to the media trying to like say they should be in the playoff, but you lost that third game.
But if they didn't lose to Ohio State and they played a terrible team week one, they would have probably been in the playoff.
That's right. They had played Chattanooga in week one. They're probably in it. But let's look at Texas. So one of the newest SEC schools along with OU. So you can look at a bunch of different calculators that, and again, this is preseason, but preseason, when you look at the majority, the number one hardest schedule is Texas.
It's crazy.
They have the number one hardest schedule. So I just want to go over some of these games. They play Texas State week one. Number one, Ohio State comes to town. Then they go to number 20, Tennessee. That's not going to be easy.
No,
and then you have the Red River rivalry. Doesn't matter who's good in that game. It's always going to come down to the wire. They host Ole Miss. They go to currently ranked Mizzou. And then late in the season, they got to go to Baton Rouge, right? And they got to play LSU, currently at number 11 ranked team, and then they go to A&M at the end of the season.
It's brutal.
And so, absolutely brutal schedule. But here's what I was thinking, because you know what? When I was trying to think who's going to win the national title this year, I really wanted to say Texas. I really wanted to. But then you look at the strength of the schedule. You look if they lose a third game or something like that. However, the SEC breaks down. I feel like the entirety of Texas's season comes down to, is Arch Manning actually good? Is he not just good? Is he really good? Because they were the number one team preseason last year. He was the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, and then they didn't make the playoff, and Arch Manning was nowhere near the Heisman voting. No. And then this year, I think he's like generally second. We're going to talk Heisman here in a little bit. He's generally second in terms of the betting markets or all that. But I can remember, David, watching his high school highlights. Because again, like this is
he was so much better
Peyton and Eli Manning's nephew, but at the same time, he looked like he was playing against middle school JV teams. There was not really good competition, and I remember telling my buddies whenever they're like, "All right, he's going to Texas," I'm like, "Dude, he could be the eventual number one pick. He could be the best Manning there's ever been, better than Grandpa, better than his uncles, or he could suck. He could absolutely suck." And I don't really know. So like for Texas, I feel like there's so much riding on the shoulders of the kid. This is his last season, right? He's not coming back. Like there's no way. It's for better or for worse.
Let me tell you something.
Barring some extreme injury,
NIL changes everything. When you're getting paid $6 million to stay in college, guaranteed money.
But also if you're going to be a first round draft pick quarterback, there's guaranteed money there, guaranteed contracts, and you're going to get even more endorsement deals. So what are your thoughts on Texas and Arch?
Texas has no excuse. Like they went out in the transfer
portal. They got
portal.
all the money.
They literally went grocery shopping and they literally said like, oh, okay, I need a good running back. Okay, I'll take two. I'll take two of those. Oh, I'll take the best wide receiver in the transfer portal, one of the best players in the country, Cam Coleman, a top 10 pick next year in the draft. Like, oh, I'll take him. So I mean, they literally loaded up, man. And so they're in a position where they should win. Arch didn't have as much help as people thought he had last year. He didn't have a running game.
He did not.
Like Texas, the only thing Texas has lacked is toughness. Texas doesn't lack skill. They don't lack coaching.
They don't lack speed.
When they play Georgia, they get stuffed in a locker. Like, why? Because of toughness. Like they've lacked the line of scrimmage toughness. Two names to know. Will Muschamp comes from Georgia, defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Will is a tough dude now. Like, people are going to be on edge. Mark Stoops comes from Kentucky to Texas. Mark Stoops is Ohio. He is a Midwestern dude, bring your lunchbox, developmental guy, gonna call you names that your mama ain't gonna they ain't gonna allow you to call you. Like both those guys, I think they'll put an emphasis on toughness. If they get tougher, they should win it. They should win this thing or be in it because their roster takes a backseat to no one. Arch has to take those steps. Arch has got some physical tools that are really good.
His speed,
he can really run.
Right.
He's natural at running. His release is lightning quick. He's got a lightning quick release. He doesn't go through his progressions quickly and get his feet organized like I want him to. He doesn't take shots on the outside.
I was about to
guys.
say the deep ball, we don't really know
No.
how good of a deep threat he does because he doesn't really do that.
If he'll see.
He's constantly checking down.
But when you have Cam Coleman, you're like, okay, I'll just throw it to him. You know, when you have Coleman and Wingo, like it's a great 1-2 punch. Texas should be in every game. Texas will probably be the favorite in every game they play. Maybe one or two they won't. But this is on Sark, man. This is on the coaching staff to develop the toughness and to get the guys at every position because they got them across the board to play like they should.
Yeah. Toughness is a reflection on your coach for the most part.
100%.
And pick a sport. If your team's resilient, it's not because your coach is passive. That's typically not the thing. So we'll see how Texas does. But then the most dominant, I guess, off-season thing, well, actually it was still in season, was Lane Kiffin going from Ole Miss to LSU. You want to talk kerfuffle? There's you a long word. There's you a big Scrabble word. I mean, part of this is the maddening thing about the coaching carousel that happens while the season's still happening, right?
Which is an indicator of the clock of college football. Like that shouldn't be allowed. It's not allowed in the NFL.
Well,
you can't do that in the NFL.
Right, that's what is it called? Black Monday or whatever in the NFL. That's when all the coaches get fired and all those types of things. It remember Les Miles. When he was at Oklahoma State, this is before he went to LSU. Like I'm pretty sure I have this right. I think it was after the game, but after OSU's game, would have been before the bowl game. I'm getting some of the stuff mixed up, but regardless, he doesn't even address the team because he had been offered the position to be the next coach of the LSU Tigers. Go Tigers. And he left. He didn't even address the kids that he recruited, that he coached all the way through to their senior year. And that's just commonplace now. Now, coaching, it's a bloodbath, right? Like if you suck for a year, you might be gone.
Yeah.
LSU, their regents, their donors, their president, their athletic director has put them in a position where if Lane doesn't win this year or next year, he's gone. And then who are you going to hire? Whereas, and again, he can make whatever decision he wants. I'm not going to fault him for it. Like I happen to love watching his teams play. But if he had committed to Ole Miss,
oh, he wouldn't have gone anywhere.
They
might have built him a statue.
No one's expecting Ole Miss to win the national title every year. But if you're LSU, if you're Georgia, if you're Bama, you're entitled to it, right? Yeah. I ought to have this. And so if they lose, 4 games this year and 4 games next year, he's gone. Whereas if he loses 4 games 2 years in a row for Ole Miss, they're giving him a raise. Right. And so that's no shade on Ole Miss. It's just the difference in programs, difference in the NIL and the amount of money that they have to, spread around.
It's the best run in program history that he had with Ole Miss.
And so what do we do now with him at LSU?
Everything was doing this. They're committed resources. They got a great GM with Billy. Like everything was on the up and up, and now you choose to leave. So you put some pressure on yourself, but like their roster takes a backseat to one when it comes to money spent.
Yeah.
And that's Texas.
It's like
Tech.
them, Texas Tech. Like
they spent money. Like they ignited this. Lane went because Lane knew the investment was going to be greater. He knew that the recruiting is easier to recruit people to LSU than it is to Ole Miss.
That's right.
But now comes the pressure with it. And here's the thing: Lane don't care. Lane is all about the eyeballs. Lane is all about attention. Like Lane relishes that. He loves that. It's okay with him. But now getting these guys to come in and play his system is extremely simplistic. They run the football. They tempo you to death. Blake Baker as DC stayed on board. He's really, really elite. Like, yeah, you should win. Brian Kelly should have won. He got fired, right? So Lane Kiffin will be treated the same way. Now he got a 10-year deal and he got broke off. So that gives you a little bit of a break, but LSU fans, I think they want to see an identity, and it starts with LSU in offense. Like they need to see, because they ain't been able to run the football the past couple of years. It's like, really? Like this is LSU, man. You expect explosiveness and physicality and toughness, and they haven't had it.
Well, we talked about one Oklahoma school, so I guess we got to talk about the other one. Let's talk about OU. So preseason ranked number 10. So a lot of OU fans around here, OU fans complain about everything, but they're really mad at the ranking. They can't just be happy with a top 10 ranking as an SEC team. But here's the reality. When you look at the strength of schedule calculators,
Oof.
they're number 2.
Yeah, it's
They're
tough.
number 2. And here's the other reality. This is why I say the first 5 weeks of the season for OU, the first 5 games of the season, we're going to learn a lot because
At
let me just
Michigan,
run
at
through that
Georgia.
schedule, okay? So they face the mighty Miners of UTEP as their opening game at Michigan. Then they play New Mexico, who they're going to win by 50.
At Georgia.
At Georgia. Then the Red River rivalry. They could legitimately go 2-3 in their first 5 games, and they lose all playoff implications. So they're
not going 2-3.
Well,
they can't go.
I'm not predicting they're going to go 2-3. I'm not predicting they're going 2-3. But it is reasonable to assume that they could lose 3 games. They're probably going to lose 2. But if they go 4-1, and if they run the table those first 5 weeks, they're in the playoff. Right? It doesn't matter if they drop a game to South Carolina or Mizzou. Like none of those things matter. Like Ole Miss is playing in Norman, and so it's like, and that's late in the season. It's hard to play in Norman. All the different things, but I mean, 3 losses would kind of be unfathomable, really. Like, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, because the schedule's brutal.
Well,
I can't tell who you like,
dogs.
by the way.
They're going to be dogs against Michigan, Georgia, and Texas.
They won't be dogs against Michigan.
At Michigan, number 16 Michigan?
They'll probably be favorites against Michigan.
Well, by 2.5?
Yeah,
1.5?
They'll be favorites.
Okay.
But, like, I can't tell who you like. You're from Oklahoma. We loved Oklahoma State. We weren't too kind to Oklahoma. We weren't too kind to Texas. Who do we follow around here?
Well, so you want to know the awesome thing about my position? I grew up in a family that didn't like sports. So I played. My dad would watch ball with me. We watched everything. My dad didn't root for or against any team. Neither one of my parents went to Oklahoma State or to OU. And the joke in Oklahoma is if you wear an OSU shirt, it's because you went to OSU. If you wear an OU shirt, it's because you went to Walmart. And so like that's kind of the thing because most of these people never actually went there.
Oh, geez.
But like for me, there are teams that I prefer to watch win. There's coaches that I prefer to watch win. But the great thing about college football is I live and die with no team. There's not a team where I'm like, crap, they won or crap, they lost.
Completely unbiased. I like that.
So in general, I like it when Oklahoma State wins over OU, but Bedlam's not a thing anymore.
No.
In general, I think it's funny when Texas beats OU because the wailing and gnashing of teeth that happens for a week in this state, they get sadder than when Toby Keith died. And I felt like an entire black blanket was dropped on the state whenever that man left this world. But yeah, for me, I just get to watch. I get to watch and like without any emotions and like in general, because I got buddies that went to Georgia, I got buddies that went to KU, I got buddies that went to Florida, and so like
don't get Joby started on Georgia.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Oh, he's a Georgia fan.
Oh,
I didn't realize he was a Georgia fan.
Shut up.
Well, speaking of guys that only bought the shirt at Walmart, Joby Martin.
Anyways, OU.
Yeah, OU.
Back to thought, Ben. My bad. I got you way off target.
Because I was shocked to not see more people predicting them to be in the playoff, and then I went to their schedule and I was like, "Oh, that's why they're going to get smashed."
And listen, that's what. Like, how do you rank teams? Like when I did my playoff, my first 12, I literally put them in order. Like, who do I think is going to make the playoff? Like, and that's just kind of how I do it. Like, I think Notre Dame is going to make the playoff. I have full certainty Notre Dame's going to make the playoff.
Oregon, like
Miami. Like I started literally going down the list. I had 6 like ins that in my head that I was like, I wrote 6 names in pen. Like 6 teams in pen. Oklahoma for me is not in pen because of their schedule. Yep. But if I just want to think about Oklahoma, Venables is such an elite defensive coach, defensive mind. They suffocate you. Like if you ask me a system as a defensive lineman that I want to play in, it's that
probably
one.
the best D line in the country last year.
Bro,
would you say that?
So good and deep, so deep. Yeah. Like Wine and Stone are guys that weren't even starting. And now they're one of the best 1-2 punch at tackling in the country. They're going to have defensive guys.
And they're going to play on
linebackers.
Someday.
They got safeties. They got corners. They literally have everything. So they're going to be great on that side of the football. So now you go out and get Harris from Virginia. Now you go out and get 3 tight ends to add to the tight end room. So what if Oklahoma's offense now with Mateer being healthy and back? Because I had him on my pod the other day, and he was like, "Hey man, like I don't make excuses."
But he couldn't throw.
He said, but I didn't realize when I was in it as much as how it changed my throwing motion.
Right.
And so he's a tough hombre. If they get the offensive side 15% better, and it's not just Satania or bust, because that's all it was. It was like one receiver to throw to. Now you got multiple guys to throw to. That offense takes a step forward. Then Oklahoma's in the playoff. And they're going to be exactly where they were. And we can't complain about that, OU. Like you can't complain about being in the playoff back-to-back year. You beat Alabama on the road. You shouldn't have. You could argue whether you should beat them or not. Like And then you lost to them in the playoff. Didn't play your best. You were up 21-0, which that was really disappointing.
Oof.
That stung.
Yeah.
But like I still think it was a great season. They're taking great steps. Jim Nagy's a great GM. Like OU is, if you're buying stock, like I'm buying stock in OU and what they're building. So love the culture, love who they are. Arbuckle year 2, Mateer year 2. Like I think this thing does exactly what it did a year ago.
Give me a prediction of what the record will be after the Red River rivalry, which is the hardest thing to say quickly. That's why I slowed down.
Red River rivalry.
Yeah, there you go. Nailed it. The first 5 games, what's OU's record?
At worst, 3-2.
At worst, 3-2. So of those 3 games, they're going to be a dog in. You think they beat Michigan, but probably drop to Georgia and
Georgia
and
at home is an animal.
Yeah.
Georgia at home is a totally different beast, man. I feel confident that they'll be able to handle Michigan. They'll not handle them, but they can beat Michigan. Like they beat them a year ago, right? Like they can beat Michigan. I feel like they'll be the favorite. Their defense is so good. There's more knowns with Oklahoma but winning at Georgia is going to be tough. Red River rivalry, they got to pull this. They got to win one of these because they've lost a couple in a row now. So like I think it'll be a dogfight. It'll be a toss-up game, but I would lean. I think Texas's talent is better. I was disappointed last year, big time, with their defense, like OU's defense versus Texas. Like Texas,
it was weird.
It was conservative, which was really weird. I'm used to them like aggressive all over the place. They were kind of conservative. I was like, I don't like this. And then Mateer was throwing interceptions left and right, but he was hurt.
Everyone loves to talk about privilege these days. Who's got privilege? White, all these different things. White privilege, but the most egregious of all privileges in the world, Notre Dame privilege. I don't like it. There's nothing I like about it, right? And look, I am Irish. And so I'm literally cutting against myself here, talking about the Fighting Irish, because me is fighting Irish at the same time, wearing me taters. But at the same time, why does Notre Dame get this magical golden helmet pass where they basically get the golden ticket into the playoff every year? Because
if they're in the top 12.
I'm going to bring up Notre Dame's football schedule right now because it is preposterous.
There's 3 games.
So they play against Wisconsin. No one, you can't name a single player on Wisconsin. Rice at home, Michigan State at home. They go on the road to Purdue and North Carolina. Stanford at home. They go to BYU. Could be an interesting game. We'll see. 4 straight home games. Navy, the U. That could be a tough one. BC and SMU. SMU's no slouch at the same time.
SMU's good.
And then they end with Syracuse. But if they're a 2-loss team with this schedule, let's just say they lose to Miami and let's say they get upset by SMU, right? So let's say those are their 2 losses. They're in the playoff because they're Notre Dame. But Notre Dame hasn't been like a dominant like college football hegemon
in a long time.
For a very, very long time. And yet
they haven't been.
You don't have to be in a conference.
They definitely haven't been a hegemon.
You don't have to get in, hegemon. You don't have to be in the SEC. You don't have to be in the Big 12. You don't even have to be in the ACC.
Does that bother you the most that they kind of do their own rules? Is that no conference like
I'm
solo
okay
thing?
If you're good. Like I don't want to be a hater. If you're good and you just shove it down everyone's face, that's why I loved Terrell Owens when he was playing for the Eagles and the Cowboys, because he was like, "Come get some. You can't cover me, right?" And you couldn't. And so I was like, "Talk your talk, man." But for Notre Dame to not have to play by the same rules and yet to get like the privilege that these other teams get. And then the whiny nonsense last year. Oh, man, you didn't make the playoff and you took your ball and you went home. You gigantic P words. Like, what in the world are we talking about here? Really? We're just going to, we're not going to play our playoff game, right? And you can blame it on NIL. You can blame it on wanting to preserve your roster for next year. But you did it because you're whiny little spoiled babies. That's why you did it. I want them to lose every game from now until the rest of time. I want the rapture to happen in the middle of the game and all the Notre Dame players get left there to think about what they've done a little bit further. Not hate.
I wish you really took I really wish you took a stand on this.
You know, I've really thought about being more black and white in my life and all that. But overall, screw Notre Dame. Why did they get to be special? What are your thoughts?
They're going to be great this year. They're going to be great. And it's not because of any privilege or anything. Like, this is the best Notre Dame roster I've ever seen. Like, they're when you start looking at the secondary, best in the country. You start looking at linebacker core, top 3 in the country. You look at defensive line, top 5 in the country. No holes. Offensive line, no holes. Great, a really, really good one of the top offensive lines in the country. Wide receivers, I think, will be very interesting. They went to Ohio State. This is the smart thing they did. They went to Ohio State and got 2 5-star kids that were there last year that didn't play because Ohio State finds wide receivers.
And they were loaded.
It's a really good thing to do. So they were already good at wide receiver. So The only question is who's toting the rock. But CJ Carr will be in the Heisman discussion. He's absolutely phenomenal. Like,
he's currently the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman.
He is so good, and I understand why. He goes to the Manning passing camp this summer and just lights it up. And people, the scouts that I talked to that were there, and the people I talked to that were there, was like, it was CJ Carr and it was everybody else. Like, that's how good he was. Ball is coming out. Like, so I think he takes a next step. The supporting cast is good. The schedule is good. But Notre Dame's one of those teams preseason that you're like, okay, do you pick them to win it? Because I very much think they're going to be in this conversation. It's going to tick you off all year. They'll be the number one team probably going into the playoff. Here's the crazy thing. If they are, and they're ranked number one, they do not play a conference championship game because they don't have one, right? That would be a 34-day layoff. Literally, if you don't play, if you're the number one seed, you don't play in your conference championship game, then you play in the first round, 34-day layoff. Teams right now in the playoff with just a normal layoff are 1-7. Conference champions are 1-7. So that would be a whole daggone month. That's a month plus off that they would be off. But Notre Dame's going to tick you off this year because they're going to be really good.
I think you're probably right. Let's talk about, speaking of former powerhouses like Notre Dame. I've thought about some of these teams that historically they have the name recognition as being powerhouses, but now I think there's a discussion of will they ever get it or will they get it back? And so some of the teams, like I thought about Auburn, I thought about A&M that's never won anything. I thought about USC that hasn't really been relevant, like super relevant. Like they had a little flare up there, hasn't really been relevant for about 20 years. Florida State, Florida, right? Like not just one good season. I'm talking about like consistent, dominance in their respective conferences. Clemson, I don't even recognize some of the things Dabo is saying in the media anymore. He used to be a wizard with the things that he would say. Now he's basically like, yeah, we're going to lose a bunch of games. The roster kind of sucks. And it's just like, is this a 2-time national championship winning head coach? But the most egregious of all the teams that I've mentioned, of the teams that used to be synonymous with dominance and power, Nebraska. Because when I was growing up, getting into college football and all that, Eric Crouch, Nebraska,
Scott Frost.
Yeah, and I know they got dump trucked by Miami in that national title game and all that after Crouch won the Heisman and all those different things. But the black shirt defense. And then they switched to the Big Ten. And they lost basically every recruiting hold that they had in Texas and the rest of the South. And I don't know why it was. Maybe it's because, who the hell wants to live in Nebraska? Maybe it's like, hey, you're never going to, the furthest south you're going to come to us is Indiana. We live in South Texas, son. We can't come to your games. And so you lose all these recruiting opportunities because you were playing OU, Texas, Baylor, A&M, and now with all the conference reshuffling and all that, and they did it a long time ago. They're not going to be peeling out the best players from the state of Ohio. No. They're not going to be able to recruit in Pennsylvania. And if you can't recruit in Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, and California, you're not going to win.
Wouldn't you say the same thing about Indiana, though?
Do they have Kurt Cignetti currently in Nebraska?
No, but I'm just saying,
they keep trying to hire Kurt Cignetti, but there's only been one of those.
They got to get the finances behind Nebraska, too. They got to get some help with that and getting with the
who are the billionaire alumni in Nebraska?
Correct. They're going to have to get with the age of rosters. All those teams you name, though, there's one team that sticks out, USC.
Okay. Why's that?
When you go to a USC practice now and you look at their dudes in uniform, you're like, okay, they look different. Like they have the most experienced QB, one of the most experienced QBs in the league. USC has talent everywhere. They just signed the number one class in the country as freshmen. They signed 30 kids. You look at Wafel, their defensive end, number one player in the country coming out of high school last year, 6'5", 275. Like that boy looks different. Like
runs like a 4.5.
Their lines of scrimmage on USC is better than it's been in a long time, and they've got some depth. Like it just looks different. It feels different. Now it's all about defense for them, right? Like it's Lincoln Riley, wherever he's been. He was in Oklahoma. He was in your backyard. You remember, defense. They bring in Gary Patterson, who retired, who was at TCU right down the road for all those years. He was
great at TCU.
He's so good, and he's never had dudes like this. Never. Yeah. He's also never coached in this era. So I'm interested to see how it unfolds, but I think USC is one of those teams that will be flirting with the playoffs. Their schedule didn't do them any favors. They play all the big three in the Big Ten is Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. They play all three.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fun. They play Michigan. Like, it's a tough schedule. But USC is young, They're super talented, but I think the experience at quarterback with Maava and the talent that they have in the young Pats, they're going to be really fun to watch.
All right, let's talk Heisman. So if you go to current odds, guys, this is as of August the 19th. So if any of these guys get hurt, which we pray does not happen, obviously this will change. But current odds have C.J. Carr, unanimous number 1. Number 2 is Arch Manning, quarterback for Texas. Number 3 is Darian Mensah of Miami. And then you get into kind of a hodgepodge of Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss. I love watching that kid play.
He's awesome.
You got Josh Hoover, quarterback of Indiana. You got Dante Moore, quarterback of Oregon. It's basically quarterbacks. I see one. Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State. That's the only guy who's not playing quarterback. That's up in there. Yep. And so we're gonna start moving into predictions as we work our way towards a close here. So if you had to predict right now who's going to win the Heisman, who do you got? And then give me a dark horse. Give me somebody that no one's really talking about, that if all the stars align on the team for the season, because you don't give a 4-loss team the quarterback the Heisman. They got to be undefeated or 1 loss. Give me a dark horse.
You want a favorite first?
Give me who you got, and then give me a dark horse.
Darian Mensah, from Miami. I don't know. I never know odds because I don't pay attention to odds.
He's plus 1,000.
I was wondering if he would be. I was wondering if he would even be in the top 5. So 3 shows you like
he's 3 across the board.
This dude like 30 something to 6 interception to touchdown ratio. He was at Tulane, went to Duke. By the way, I love that Darian Mensah gets to walk in the Miami team room and be like, "Hey, this is an ACC championship ring. I know you've never seen these. They've never won one. Miami's never won an ACC in 20 years in the league, which is crazy. He won one last year at Duke." But I think their firepower is absolutely insane. Like, they paid for their quarterback. They brought Barkate, who's a receiver from Duke, who had 1,100 yards. Malachi Toney was the most impressive freshman probably one of the most ones you've ever seen in your life. Like, Fletcher's back at running back. Like, the U is going like this. They're going to continue to be on the rise. They'll be on the up and up. They'll be crazy. I wish if Mestermaker and company would win more games, he's 100% a guy that could easily be on that list. Like, but Kevin Jennings, I don't know where he's at.
He's not on either list.
So there you go. Kevin Jennings is probably the longest shot. Kevin Jennings and SMU. I bet you didn't know this. SMU is 14-2 since joining the ACC. 14-2, by far the best record. Like, schedule sets up very nicely for them this year. They've got a lot of guys back, including their quarterback. Like, SMU could be that team that's flirting with the playoffs, and if he puts up video game numbers, which he could, he might be a guy that comes off from nowhere and all of a sudden has odds.
All right, before we get into predicting conference champions and then overall champion, I want to know what your favorite college football playoff bowl is. Or actually, no, just college football bowl, not playoff bowl. So I don't want Orange Bowl, I don't want Sugar Bowl, I don't want Fiesta Bowl, I don't want any of that kind of stuff. What's your favorite bowl to watch every year? Because there's only one correct answer.
Rose Bowl?
No, screw the Rose Bowl. I don't care about roses awesome. And like this.
Rose Bowl's awesome.
Thing.
When you sit on that field, it's pretty dope.
I don't care about it. But of all the non-fancy bowls, that's a fancy bowl. So like we can't of all the other bowls, I feel like there's only one. Pop-Tart Bowl, baby.
I knew that would be yours.
You know why? Because everybody's done watching the game in the middle of the fourth quarter because no one really cares about Central Michigan versus, Kentucky or whoever's going to play in that bowl.
Or because the Pop-Tarts race at halftime, different flavors.
Everybody's waiting to see which Pop-Tart comes out of that big toaster at the end.
That's hilarious.
I mean, the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl, that's a good one, getting covered with mayonnaise.
Gross.
Afterwards. That is disgusting. But I want to watch it, right? So
I would not eat mayonnaise if you paid me. That is. Ugh.
I feel like they should dump the mayonnaise on them, then dump some relish on them after that. Like, I feel like that would be the only thing
some tuna,
that would make
so
it worse. But yeah, okay, shout out to the Pop-Tart Bowl. But now we're going to get into some predicting some conference champions. We're just going to go in alphabetical order here. So ACC, the favorite is Miami. The main odds-on challenger is SMU. But if you got to pick a conference champion right now, who are you going with?
Miami, not close.
I feel like that's pretty clear. Yeah. Now we're going to go to the American Conference. So the favorite is Navy. Main challengers, you got UTSA, you got Memphis. But who do you see coming out of the American Conference?
Memphis would have been in that mix, but they lost their coach, lost a lot of guys. But I'll go Navy.
Okay. No chance of a playoff there, but we can assume that they're going to win. Now we got the Big Ten. Obviously, the favorite is Ohio State, but they're slight favorites over Oregon and Indiana in terms of coming out as conference champion. I think it comes down to a little bit of strength of schedule stuff, but who's going to come out of the Big Ten as champ?
Oregon.
You got Oregon. Big 12. Really, it's
Easy.
Texas Tech and everybody else.
Yeah.
BYU is seen as a challenger, but as you said earlier, they're going to line up where they can win a bunch of games, but I don't see them beating Texas Tech. So I like that. Conference USA. The favorite is Liberty now. And then you got Western Kentucky seen as a challenger there. We're not really seeing any of these teams being playoff contenders, but who you got in the Conference USA?
Give me Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky. Now we got the old SEC. I hear they're good at football. So he's going to be happy because UGA, they are the favorites to win the SEC right now in terms of betting odds. But obviously you got Texas there. Some can make an argument for OU, like different things. It just depends on how schedule breaks down.
There's 7 contenders for the SEC. 7. There's 7 teams that I think could win the SEC. That is nuts. And it's in the order they finished last year. Like, that guys that I think could win it: Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, LSU.
Yep.
Like that's crazy to me. I'll go with Georgia. I think their schedule sets up great. Bama's schedule sets up great. Like they host Georgia, but they got a 4-game runway to figure out their running game. But Georgia over Texas. I take Georgia.
Let's talk Sun Belt. So JMU, the Kurt Signetti-less JMU, they are the favorites. But then you got Old Dominion, you got Troy. So far we've been picking mainly favorites here. But who you got coming out?
Western Kentucky was not a favorite, jerk.
No, I said mainly favorites.
Mainly.
All right. I think so. I'm pretty sure I said that. But everybody else, you've just been being the conventional guy, right? You're going to take Old Dominion. Okay, let's go. Suck it, clowns. All right, here we go. Pac-12. The favorites are Boise State, the Blue Turfers, and then beyond that, you got San Diego State.
I wonder if people could even name teams in the Pac-12.
Bro,
it's all states, by the way. Everybody's a state. Washington State, Oregon State. Remember, it was the 2-pack, and now it's.
Well, I remember watching last year, and I'm like, why is UCLA playing like Ohio State? I'm like, oh, gosh, yeah, they're in the freaking Big Ten. Big Ten has 47 teams in it. How did this happen?
And there's 2 teams in the Pac-12 last year, the 2-pack.
Yeah, so who's going to win the 2-pack conference?
I got Boise. I think Boise will also be the representative that goes in the playoff.
Ooh, okay, there we go. All right, so that was kind of my next question is what small conference or I guess non-major conference now is going to have a representative? Because last year playoff got blown to smithereens, suck at Notre Dame, couldn't have happened to a better program. But obviously,
but would you have not rather had a better game in the first round?
I would not have. I'm glad. I wish it would have been 100-0, and then Notre Dame's just sitting there crying into their tears and money. I would have just been like, yeah, okay, yeah, touchdown, Jesus doesn't love you anymore. That's how I would have responded to that entire thing. But
UNLV could be another team. Dan Mullen does a really, really good job. UNLV and Boise State are the 2 that I think you'd look out for being those group of 5 or group of 6 now representatives. Because remember the 12-pack.
Now, as we wrap up here, it's impossible to really predict the tournament bracket because there's way too many things. Because yes, you have your conference champions that you've already gone with. Some conference champions are just not going to be in the playoff, like a Duke last year, like all those different things. Like these teams just aren't going to be in the playoff. And then when you pick like some of these mid-majors, like a Boise State, okay, where would they even be? Yeah. And last year, I got to tell you, I literally I watched ESPN explain it. I watched it explained on game day. I read articles. I had AI try to explain it to me. I still couldn't figure out how they ranked the college football playoff. I couldn't figure out why is this team here? Because
you need to listen to C-Ball Get Ball.
I know.
I'll take care of that for you, bud.
I know the year before, but listen to you is like listening to a caveman trying to start a fire. And so it's like, it's just kind of difficult.
Because it's on 3 times.
Yeah, I know. I should probably slow it down a little bit. But like, it was just so difficult. And again, you already made it. The teams that get the bye, they get smashed. Like these games are typically not close. And so how do you solve for that where these teams don't just sit on ice for all that? So we're going to skip the prediction of the bracket here. Okay. I want your prediction for who's going to win the national title. But before we do, I'm going to give you my prediction.
Oh, okay.
Of who's going to win the national title. And it pains me to say it.
Notre Dame.
Notre freaking
Are you really?
Dame. If I have to pick,
my gosh.
If my life is on the line right now, right? If I take any given Saturday on a neutral field, like, man, maybe give me Georgia, maybe give me Texas, maybe give me Oregon, like maybe give me Kurt Signetti. I'll put my life in his hands.
Yeah.
But I feel like the clouds are going to part. Jesus is going to remember that Notre Dame exists, and there's going to be a bunch of people out there in the crowd that are going to get into the shuffle. I think Notre Dame, with the roster, with the quarterback, not having to play a conference championship game, finding a way. Their coach is fantastic. I can't hate on the coach. I think he's fantastic. And I think he's maybe better man than he is a football coach. And that man, can he do some X's and O's, right?
Good.
I respect the hell out of that man, even though he works for the worst program. And it's Satan's favorite college football team is Notre Dame. But if I had to pick one team right now, it is hard for me to pick against Notre Dame because of how the season's going to play out.
I get that. And there definitely they were on my list of teams I was contemplating for sure. There was only a couple of them, but I got Oregon. And the Ducks are 37-0 in the last 3 years against teams that didn't play for a national championship. Remember, they lose to Indiana, who won a national championship. They lost to Ohio State the year before. They won a national championship. Oh, Washington the year before. Like, literally, they are so good. But here's the thing. That defensive line, like I was doing my rankings this year for See Ball, Get Ball for the podcast. I literally was like, okay, one's here. We'll do everybody else. Like Oregon was so far and away number one, it's not even fair. Like you go down, you talk about some gams, some grown ace, man. Like you go down the list of those guys, like Bear Alexander and Washington and Alexander in the middle. Like you're talking about 320, you're talking about 310, and those guys move like they're 220 pounds. And then you got these adult Cybots on the outside with Tatui and Uiagalelei on the outside who are 6'5", 270. Like, and guess what? Senior. All of them could have gone to the NFL, came back because they want to win a title. The only thing I'm worried about Oregon is the offensive line. Everything else, QB's a top 10 pick. Wide receivers, they got them. Running backs, they got them. Defense, they got it. Like, this is a team that's been building. And sometimes, like, Kirby Smart had that moniker on him. Can't win the big one. Can't win the big one.
Until he did.
Dan Lanning, can't win the big one. Ryan Day, can't win the big one. Till he does. Yep. And I think this year, Oregon, Dan Lanning, get it done.
Well, and so Oregon plays Boise to start out the season, right? But
Oklahoma State, too.
Yeah, they host Boise. I mean, a couple of games that, I mean, they have to go to SC.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. They have to go to the Horseshoe. They got to go to Ohio State. They host Washington at the end of the season, but I don't think many people are, because Washington's a preseason
don't
ranked
play
14,
Indiana,
15 or something like that.
Which is great.
Don't play Indiana.
Yep.
They host Michigan. Who knows how Michigan's going to be? I assume by the time Michigan gets to that game, they're probably going to be unranked because that's real late in the season. I mean, I'm just not sure how Michigan's going to fare. New coach, like kind of new circumstances. It's going to be a little touch and go. But I mean, hard to assume that team's not going to be in the college football playoff. And then once they get there, all bets are off. We'll kind of see how it goes. I mean, look what Ole Miss did last year. No one had Miami going to the national title game, and all the smart money wasn't really on Indiana because I think everybody, even the market, kind of placed into it that Indiana, this has to run out. Like Cinderella has to, we're turning into a pumpkin at some point.
Yeah.
And we're close to midnight here, but we're close to the end now. We flowed, we waxed poetic about all kinds of things, and then we solved all the college football stuff. Neither one of us are bettors, but you can take these predictions to the bank.
To the bank, baby.
You're going to make all kinds of money. But that's all for me. Anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, bro. I appreciate you having me.
Thank
you very much, man.
Appreciate you.
Didn't screw it up.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming, www.Undaunted.Life. The music on this podcast is the song Conqueror by the Christian metal band Void Awaken. Be sure to stream their music on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever else you get your music. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.